All right, we are live.
All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics of Local America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, y'all know it's time for All Politics of Local. But more importantly, if it is the first Friday, y'all know it's time for Pastrami Over Politics, but of course, our beloved brothers, Brother Rahman Muhammad and Alturrick Kenney. So we're going to throw it over to them once John does the rundown. We'll give it to them. So we want to say also happy, God blessed Good Friday to everyone and all of you who are on your way someplace. Of course, like Brother Rock and Brother John, we want to say safe travels to them. And of course, sit back and enjoy the show. All right, here's John.
All right, so we have 6 p.m. We know there's Pastrami Over Politics with Rahman Muhammad and Alturrick Kenney, and that's going to be a lively conversation. At 7 o'clock, we're going to have the Newark School Board Elections team of Moving Newark Schools Forward. We're going to have all 4 candidates who are running on the slate. Hasani Council, Mark Comesañas, Quamid Childs, and Jordy Nivar. They will all be on here. And as always, with Politics are Local, all candidates are welcome. We'll hope to have most of the school board candidates on here before the school board election happens later this April. And at 7:40, we're going to have Felicia Simmons and Elorm on Ocansey talk about the annual Whitesboro Gala. That's really important. Whitesboro, New Jersey. A lot of people don't know about this history. It was a place where Black people came to party and vacation, and there's a lot of really good history around that. They have a ball and a gala that they do every year, and of course at 8 o'clock we're going to have a tribute to Bob Law and his legacy, the legendary radio talk show host Bob Law. So that's our that's our show for tonight, and that's what we're starting. So we have a show that is planned. How's this going on?
Yeah, you hear? Jonathan, y'all couldn't hear you broken up.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
Y'all
can
hear
hear
me?
you.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Well, as y'all can see, me and Jonathan both without wives, so you know, what I'm saying this conversation is probably gonna get cut off at some point. But listen, man, I just wanted to let me first, man. I wanted to just give a little moment of silence to my brother, man, friend of mine, man, Al Cortino, who was killed. To be honest with you, murdered to me in that senseless car accident that occurred last Sunday. So yeah, I just wanted to give a moment of silence to him for a couple of seconds. Yeah, rest in peace to my brother, man. You know, it's crazy because I was just talking with him that Saturday in reference to the soccer match, and him wanting the truck to come down into the match, man. And then got the news that Sunday, and man, it was devastating, man. I mean, he was a really good friend of mine. You know what I'm saying? I've probably known him as long as I've known Raz Baraka, and always was a good brother. I don't know really too many enemies he's had. And man, to see the accident and how he died is just, you know, just wasn't right, man. You know, brother gone way too soon, man. And you know, God bless him and his family, man. Prayers to them. So, John, let's get in the conversation, my brother. I mean, I do want to talk about this silly season. I think it's getting sillier. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, let's get into the conversation, my brother. Yeah, he's off it. He driving. He going in and out.
Yeah, he's probably freezing. So, you know, we can talk about, you know, whatever you want to start with, Rock. It's your show, so you can go with it.
So I think Jonathan wanted to talk about the Islamophobia in this country, and I agree with him that I think that it's at an all-time high. And what's crazy about it, though, because when you look at the sister from Minnesota, I think, you know, and I was saying this to Monica, like, I think she is probably to see the disrespect and the way she is treated in Congress, and that we don't have even Democrats. I mean, you got some Democrats that come to her defense, but I mean, I don't see a lot of white Democrats coming to Ilyan's defense as a Muslim. I mean, it is just outright Islamophobia in this country. And I think it is not just amongst Republicans, but I also think that is among some white Democrats. And to see the abuse that this woman takes on a daily basis from people who attacks her just for her being a Muslim. I mean, you look how they treated the Muslim guests that she brought to the state of the union. I mean, it's out of hand. And I don't think that enough people is speaking up about it. And I think there has to be a deeper conversation, and it has to be more than just minorities standing up and speaking. You know what I'm saying? Islam is one of the oldest religions in this world. To see the abuse that Muslims take in this country, because you have certain Muslims that want to do some of the crazy things that they do. That is not what Islam is about. It's not what the majority of Muslims in the world think. And it's no different than bad Christians, bad Catholics, bad Protestants, bad whatever religion that's out there. But it just seems when it comes to Islam, we get, even like, I watch Bill Maher. Bill Maher is somebody I watch on a regular. And I watch his Islamophobia. I think he's Islamophobia. I mean, it's just like he pinned everything on being a Muslim. You know what I'm saying? Like, being a Muslim has nothing to do with these crazy folks. They individuals who have a crazy philosophy, no different than Christians and other folks of faith that had crazy philosophies. We still got crazy Christians out there that's part of the white nationalist movement. I mean, just listen to some of them. I mean, did you listen to Nick Fuentes the other day call us the N-word on, like, I mean, he literally said that he is a reason why he don't eat around black people. Like, he wanted to be separate from black, like this, I mean, and this guy is supposed to be on the Christian right. And no one's saying anything about this.
But you know, Rock, Islam in America has more to do with politics than anything else, right? You know, because from the perspective of white folks versus Islam with black folks, you know, this is a conversation we have all the time, right, Brother Bashir? You know, Islam, particularly in America, wouldn't be as big as it is in America if it was not for black people and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right?
Right.
You know, so, you know, and of course, black folks don't get the credit that they deserve. But when you talk about Islam today, it is more political than anything else, because they make Islam and they make Muslims to be the boogeyman of the world, right?
Yes.
And think about it, all the movies that are made, Rock, you know, when you think about all these war movies and all of that, what do you see on television? It's always Muslims in the Muslim countries that they're going after. So they implanting this kind of stuff in the heads of young white Americans. And so what happens? You know, it's no wonder that you see Ilhan Omar being attacked. Right? I mean, that's what's in the minds of these folks. So, you know, you got to understand. And then if you think about even what's happening now with, you know, when you talk about Trump is asking for all of the names, right, of all of the Jews that work at a particular place in this country. I mean, you know, you got to look at what this guy is up to, right? So there's not going to be long when there's going to be an attack, not only on Muslims, but there's also going to be an attack on Judaism, right? But the only religion that he claimed, and we know we don't really believe he's a Christian, right? You know, but that's what these folks are looking at, and we got to be clear that there's an open attack on Muslims in this country.
You know, the thing is that I just think that there has to be there has to be more than the usual folks who stand up for the Ilhan Omars in Congress. You know, I think back to when I was the labor leader and when 9/11 happened, and you know, I was the only Muslim on the international board in any union, by the way. And I think of some of the questions that white liberals were asking me during that time, and I used to be offensive about it, that I would even have to explain my religion. you know what I'm saying? And, you know, and I was like, you know, I used to always say to them, they asked me about Sunni and, you know, Shia and the difference and all, you know, all these silly questions that they asking me. And I was explaining to them the different faiths in Christianity and, you know what I'm saying? And those aren't Muslims that run a plane into a building. Those murderers. Like, we have to stop, particularly because someone has faith that they're doing it because of a religion. No, that's not a religion. My father didn't teach us, like you said. Islam was brought to America. My stepfather was part of the first generation of Muslims. He didn't teach us that type of stuff. He said murder was bad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, period. You know what I'm saying? Rather, like, so, you know what I'm saying? We're not taught to crash planes and, you know what I'm saying, do all of this, you know what I'm saying, crazy terroristic type of behavior that occurs with some of these Muslims. That's not what we're taught in Islam. This is what people's philosophies and opinions are. You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with Islam and Muslim. Islam is a peace religion, just like every religion in general is a peace religion. To be honest with you, if you are a person of faith, then you are faith because you believe in peace.
Right.
No, you know what I'm saying? So whatever religion that is, you know, that's why I respect all religions, because I think that if you carry a faith, then you have some human nature about you. You're human. You know what I'm saying? That you don't want to harm people and kill people and murder, and that you are peaceful. But when I look at these people that stand up at a stage, like the Secretary of War, and pray to Jesus Christ to murder Muslims, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I don't understand how that's faithful.
Right.
I don't believe this guy is a Christian. Who prays to Jesus Christ to murder people?
Right.
Who says a prayer for that?
Right.
Like, and we normalize that, like, that's good behavior. So we actually got Christians that's praying for murder?
Right.
That's what Jesus would do?
Right.
Like, I don't like this co-opting that people have done, this perversion that they've done with all religions, rather they're from the Christian right, rather they're from Muslims who are, you know what I'm saying, using Islam to abuse people, you know, rather they're Catholics or whomever. I mean, at the end of the day, these people are sick individuals. They're not human beings. They're not really about their faith. Because if there was about their faith, a godly faith, the reason why we even have faith is because we are to believe that we are human. We understand other people are human. We want to do unto man like we want other men to do unto us.
That's right. But right, Rock, when you say that, you know, when you talk about other people standing up than the usual folks, right?
Yeah.
The problem is that Trump has got so many people in fear, right? People are afraid to stand up because they're afraid of what his supporters might do to him or how he might sick his supporters on folk. And so therefore, you know, you get the Ilhan Omars of the world who can be openly attacked and nobody says anything, right? And you know, the only people in this country, and I've heard Mayor Baraka say this, the only people in this country, right, other than the original indigenous people, the only people in this country who can really be called Americans are us and those folks. Because remember, we were not you know, brought here and other than being brought here by force, and then the country was taken from the original folk. Everybody else here that are going against other groups of people or other religions. Remember, these folks came here with all different kinds of religions. And then some even came here without no religion. They came here as atheists, didn't believe in God at all. And we've got to say, Rock, that Islam in particular has been good for Black people. Because you know that if we go back and you talk about the first resurrection versus the second resurrection, you know that in coming in the 60s and 70s, Islam, what it looked like in Newark and New York, what it looked like total economic progress for Black people, right? We were safe, we had businesses, all of those things were working. And if it had not been for COINTELPRO and all of these different white organizations and even some Black folks, you know that Islam, and particularly Black Islam and Muslims, I mean, there's no way that Islam would not be the paramount religion for Black people in America.
I don't disagree with you. It brought pride. You know what I'm saying, to the Black community. Even when we was on public assistance, we had our head up. And the deal was that it was always striving for self-sufficiency. That's why I look at some of these folks now who argue about government taking care of them. I don't. That's not what we was raised in. I don't. My mother didn't want to be on public assistance. You know what I'm saying? She was forced to be on public assistance because she had no choice. But my father did everything in his power. My stepfather did everything in his power to remove us from having to depend on that public assistance. He taught self-sufficiency, and it was Islam. It was Islam and the pride that you Elijah and them put into Black Americans at that time to say, stand up, Black man, stand up, Black woman, go out there and feed yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Don't depend on this wicked government. You know what I'm saying? Go out there and defend yourself. Hold your head up high. Be Black and proud. Hey, because of Muslims being Black and proud, American Muslim, that made Christians in America be Black and proud.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? That made Christians in America be Black and proud. So you're absolutely correct. Islam put something different in us. And to, you know what I'm saying, and to see the attacks and Islamophobia that happens in this country, and I'm gonna say it again, amongst white liberals too. It's not just conservatives. I don't, there's a lot of them that look us like crazy. And to be honest with you, you even got Black people.
Right.
I be listening to some of these I listen to some of these Black preachers, and the way they talk about Muslim. Me and my mother-in-law argue all the time about Christianity and Islam. She always tell me I'm going to hell. Man, that's not talk bad about my mother. That's just what she's taught. And me and I have to go through this every time I come to her house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But she still love me. But she think I'm going to hell. If you ask her, I'm going to hell. And I said, well, that's a lot of people gonna be in hell with me. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, we got over 1 billion Muslims in this country, so everybody can't be wrong. Yeah, go ahead.
Right now, just two things. I just wanted to shout out some things have been happening in the chat. We just got some greetings from somebody in Iceland.
Oh, what's going on?
Oh man, I've never seen
Iceland. Yeah, man, that's great.
Is it? And of course, that what the Iceland means to these crazy people, is a whole nother conversation, which really reveals how crazy they are. Also wanted to shout out Principal Kafele, who always checks in from however far away he is from here. And just
what's up, brother?
Just to add to Ed's point, just very briefly, there is a divide in this community. Talk about the fear of Islam, Islamophobia towards Muslims, right? But there's an anti-Blackness issue that Muslims from other countries have that they do not express here, but they do not acknowledge the pioneering, bold, self-determining path that Muslims from the Nation of Islam created for all Muslims who are in this country now. Right? That's another conversation. Right? They're not even terribly out loud about what happens to that little sister, right? And I'm saying that little sister because she's young and she is very little. When that white man literally attacked her physically, I lost my mind. I'm saying, I'm glad I'm not in Minnesota because something gonna happen.
I said the same thing. They lucky I'm not in Congress. I said the same thing because
on that front.
Yeah, I said the same thing, brother.
Yeah,
but I agree with you about something though, brother. We got Arabs that's over here that won't even give you back the peace.
Oh, please.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I just went through that the other day. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna stop supporting this brother's store because every time I give him the peace, he don't even give me the peace back. Like, I don't understand that. But you got a bunch of Black Muslims coming in and supporting your store, but you ain't giving the peace back. Like, I don't know what that means. You know what I'm saying? I don't, so I agree with you, brother.
Now you just touched on something. If we internationalize this,
yeah,
and look at Iran, this bogus attack on Iran, it's really getting messy for these crazy people over this oil. We've got to divide, right? Some of these folks who are comfortable with this oil money, right? Who once upon a time would have been the natural allies of Islam.
Yes.
Islam once upon a time in the decolonial era was an ideology of resistance, right? Especially them Saudis. That's a real conversation that needs to be had of another country. Them Saudis are 10 toes deep, wanting the United States to put boots on the ground to further attack and take out Iran. That is like, what we're saying is not stuff a lot.
Stuff a lot.
Out of your mind.
I agree, brother. I agree with you, brother. It is not. It's not good, brother. And I don't. I would hope that you know what I'm saying, there are more people that would stand against, and even more Christians that would stand up and defend Muslims. I defend any Christian's right to be a Christian, and if somebody in Islam attack, I don't hear Muslims attack other religions, though. I got to be honest with you. Very seldom do I hear another Muslim attacking religion. I do hear other religions that come after Islam all the time, but you know what I'm saying? I just think that there are more people that have to stand up against this Islamophobia on the national level, more of these leaders, more of these
as
white
a
Democrats.
matter of principle.
Yes, as a matter of morality. You know what I'm saying? If you about faith, then, you know what I'm saying, it should be based on morality. That's what I think that any person of faith is. They have some moral compass about them. That's why you're a person of faith. But when you hear the Secretary of War praying for murder to Jesus Christ, I don't know. I just don't understand the Christian belief in this country. I don't, and no one says anything. I mean, I've never heard a prayer to kill people. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. This man's on national TV praying to Jesus Christ for his hand to kill people. Like, that's crazy. That's ridiculous to me.
Right.
and folks, and we normalizing this behavior. This behavior is being normalized, folks. Listen, somebody they like, y'all, we are talking about, y'all need to understand, we are talking about a president who's firing his attorney general because she is not going after his political enemies. And this woman was loyal. I don't care what he said. I don't know what he's talking about. To me, this woman was very loyal to him. I don't know what he talking. If you need more loyalty than that, I don't know what he's looking for.
Loyal. But here it is. But
yeah, I don't know what.
He's not getting rid of her.
But
he's putting her in an even more dangerous place in Latin America. She's now going to be an attack dog for him in Latin America. Watch her move now.
Wherever he put it, though, but I didn't see her for loyalty. I thought she was doing his bidding when she was thing. But you can't just. He's looking for somebody to trump up charges, and we acting like that's normal. Like we're talking about a normal situation now. That a president of the United fired attorney general because they're not their political enemies. And this is normal behavior in this country. So you wonder why there's Islamophobia in the situation that we are in? I mean, we've normalized some absurd behavior from the leadership in this country, and we act like it's nothing wrong with it. Like there's, you know what I'm saying? Like this is just not, like we should all, like everybody should be talking about. I listen to the news. I'm waiting for somebody to say, folks, this is not normal. Yeah, they'll say it's wrong, but I need you to say this is not normal. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, we're normalizing the conversation where an individual is just doing all sort of crooked things, and like, you know, it's no big deal about it. Like, I just don't understand what direction this country is going on. I don't want to belabor that point though, because I know I want to talk about this craziness in the city of Newark too, man, and some of this wild stuff that's being said out here. But go ahead, you was about to say something?
No, I mean from January 6th to the exoneration of January 6th participants, they're trying to normalize violence. The attack and the overthrow of, and I'm using the word overthrow, that's not the right word, of the case around women's right to choose, them having a brain freeze, right? To normalize sexism, right? The attack on DEI and this crazy hostility towards Black women being in any kind of meaningful leadership, to normalize racism in the quest to make America white again, in the quest to make America great again. They have to renormalize. These things have been normal once upon a time in this country, not too long ago. I'm talking about in some of our lifetime. Some of this stuff has been very normal for them. They're trying to renormalize the most backwards expression of what it means to be America, because that includes all of those things.
we got the Secretary of fired his chief of staff because the chief of staff was against holding back minorities, black people, and women from being promoted. Like that's how deep this is. Like
Yeah.
he was holding back promotions for black people become one-star generals. So there were some folks who it was time for them to become one-star general. There was two black people and two women. He's been isolating the black people and the females, and the chief of staff didn't agree with it. You know, because in the army, because my wife's a lieutenant colonel, in the army, they pretty much the
Lieutenant
way it
Colonel?
is in the army when it's time for. I'm sorry, hello.
He's a lieutenant colonel.
Yeah, my wife's a lieutenant colonel. Yeah. She's a
Wow.
lieutenant colonel. Yeah, yeah, black woman, lieutenant colonel. Oh yeah.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But the way it is, my wife would tell you that the way it is in the army, so that you don't have this nepotism when it comes to promotion. The based on what you do in the army, you automatically move to the next rank if you meet a certain criteria. So your rank is, you know what I'm saying? Unless it's general, then you can get a senator to start recommending. But when you move up in the army in general, it's based on the work that you've done. So based on your years of service, based on certain courses you take, based on you start moving up into the ranks. If you meet that criteria, you move up to the rank. That's so that the nepotism, and the promotions is taken out. But this guy is back to is putting nepotism back. Only white men now could be officers.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh
Right.
yeah.
he want to go into
Right.
he want to go into only white men could be officers. Like
Right.
this is where he's at. You know what I'm saying? This way he's at. I said, how does that make how does that make anybody? How does that make anybody want to remain in the military? Especially if you're a black person. Like, I mean, just got to think, man. If this guy was in charge when my wife was moving up in rank, she probably wouldn't be a lieutenant colonel.
That's real talk. Well, you know,
You know what I'm saying?
it took over 100 years to even integrate into that space. But ironically, by virtue of the impact of our struggle, that was one of the places where we saw what you're just talking about. A
Right.
space that had an exceptional level playing field for promotion among other spaces. A lot of people that
Agre-
all a process for some of us, but it's real stuff, right? But it took us a long time to get there. So, you know, it's not an accident, I would dare say, that you would see us go backwards the way you're talking about on that front, the way we were, because ultimately these folks are also being obsessive about just having the kind of levers and weapons and you know of deadly force that most of the world simply does not have. They're really getting off on that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, folks, man. I wanted to say something before I get off this phone in reference to this craziness that's going on in the city of Newark and the lies that are just continuously being told, or you know what I'm saying, folks trying to make you know what I'm saying, things out of something that is not. I want to first address this video that has been put out there um, by Alif Muhammad, and you know what I'm saying, he continuously to pretend that there is corruption in that video, and it's not. There is no corruption at all. That video,
Yeah,
it has nothing in
right.
there.
Hey, Rock,
Yes.
let's tell the folks what video we're talking about.
To give you some context.
Of Amiri Baraka and the conversation that Ali had in his school when Mitty came to him about a vendor in the housing authority, and he was trying to talk to him about his position on the vendor. And Alif, I mean, he didn't, you know, what I'm saying, Alif is right about his school has to have cameras, so Alif didn't intend to record the conversation. So I do want to give him, you know, what I'm saying, people be clear about that because folks are saying like Alif, that's not true. He has a school and his school has cameras in it. And so because Biddy came to his school, the school recorded the cameras recorded the conversation that was being held. But the conversation has been placed out there as if Biddy did some corrupt stuff. Like Biddy said some things in there that was a nature of corruption. And that is just not true. If you
There's
any
nothing there.
Amiri Baraka has a right. Amiri Baraka has a right to lobby anybody for their vote. That is, matter of fact, that's his job. Every single time we put an agenda on the council meeting, we're lobbying the council members to vote for what the mayor has placed on that agenda. So that there's nothing corrupt about that. It only becomes corrupt if there's something of value changed for your vote. That is the only way that it becomes corrupt. If Mitty would have been trying to exchange the vote for something of value, he did not do any of that in that conversation. And so for folks to go out there and keep pretending or trying to make it seem like, oh, the third is coming. I don't know why we keep pushing this notion of getting black folks arrested. Like, I mean, where are we at in this city that we really want black people to go to jail? Like, I mean, we've really gotten to that level where we're making up corruption. We're making up scenarios in our brain, or we giving our opinion about corruption and calling for black people to be put in jail who have not committed a crime. Amiri did not commit a crime. So I don't understand why would we call for him, why are we calling for him to be locked up for what? Because he had a conversation that you disagree with? Or that you had one opinion in the conversation, he had another opinion in the conversation? Ali had made a video with Kevin Jenkins the other day, and he pulled up a law. He said that something about coercion, that Mitty coerced. No, he didn't, because you voted no. Coercion is if you actually do it. You can't turn around here and say that I coerce you into something that you did not do. I have a right to lobby you for your vote. I have a right to ask you to support something on the agenda. I have a right to do that. You don't have to do it, but I have a right to ask you to do it. So I don't understand why are we pushing this narrative out there, and especially the narrative of getting us locked. Like, what are we talking about here? You know, I got a family. I'm trying to take care of my family. I'm trying to build a business for my kids. I can't leave them politics. And we talking about the FBI and going to, what are we talking about? I want nobody to go to jail. I don't want nobody I disagree with to go to jail, and I don't want nobody I agree with. I want nobody to go to jail. I don't wish that on anybody, and I don't want to call the police on anybody. Like, why are we that level because of an election? Why are we at that level of conversation in the city? Because you got a right to run. You can disagree and talk about your policies. Convince the residents that you are better than what exists. But why call me corrupt? They're now saying because I don't agree this corruption, because I agree that Mitty didn't do nothing, that I am now betting the Mitty. That's illegal. Me just saying that there's nothing corrupt in it, that's illegal. Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about?
Hey, so Rock, here's what we should be clear about. You know, one of the things that I think that with everybody in the city of Newark who are, you know, involved in law enforcement, and I said this to you before, when that young man had, you know, reported his conversation to the FBI, you know, one of the things is that we should be clear about. If the Barakas had done anything wrong or had broken the law, you could believe that they would have been.
They would already moved on them.
Right.
Already moved on. Right. They wouldn't have let him run for governor.
Right. That would have happened. So I think that the people who are listening to this chorus that they got going on, I think that the people should be smart enough and say to themselves that, you know what, that doesn't even make sense, because if any of that was true, these two brothers would have already been arrested, would have already been put out of office, and so none of that makes sense. And you got to know that they've had, ever since they've been in office over the last 12 years, you've got to know that they've had heightened visibility more so than any other elected official in this country because of their names. Right. I mean, let's just be clear.
Right. And it's no shock to say that the Fed, and it's no shock to say, Ed, that the Feds is watching them. Of course the Feds is watching them. Their last name Baraka.
Right.
Who's shocked about that? The Feds watch every politician that get in office. If you're going to be a mayor or a council person, they watch every single politician. You're not excluded from the watch list once you become an elected official. You're not excluded from that. Whoever's elected, the feds is watching you. I'm not surprised about that. I'm not shocked about that. But why are we don't have to add to it. We don't have to create corruption or make people feel like something is going on that it does not happen. Those conversations that happen with Amiri and Alif in that office are conversations that happen all the time. It's just that one was recorded.
Right. And the
You
thing
know what I'm
is,
saying?
and the thing is, Rock, is that, you know, for our people right now, I don't know when did we started thinking that that the people who operate in the FBI, the CIA, the police department, when did we started thinking that these folks are our friends? When did we started believing that?
When people were willing to sell their souls and collaborate with them,
which is what happened.
Right.
And you know, I've been wanting to add this to this conversation from the jump. Wait till the chickens come home to roost.
Right. Exactly, brother. Exactly, brother.
Come home to roost.
The
whole quote,
brother.
You know, chickens coming home to roost is one thing, but and being an old farm boy, chickens coming home to roost don't make me mad. They make me glad.
Only makes me glad. I agree. I
what the Leafs issue is. I don't know why he's got this deep-seated, you know, anger towards the Barackas. I have no idea where that's coming from. I just don't get that. I don't know why he has that. And he ain't running for nothing. I really just don't get that.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, listen, he had his disagreement with Amiri, which is between two adults, and I think that them two should work those things out. But I think that has really gotten out of hand because now we are.
That Amiri was trying to work out something with him. That looked like.
He was, but it seems like. But it seems like what we're doing is we're dragging other people into the discussion. They dragging me into discussion. They dragging developers in discussion. Black people. That's actually we got black people now who are getting development deals in this city, and we are complaining about that as if that's corrupt. I mean, I don't understand this. Like, I'm not understanding this. I've been in politics in the city since. I've been in politics in this city since 1992. I've been involved in politics in the city since 1992. From 1992 until 2014, when Mayor Baraka came into office, the only folks that got land and development deals in this city did not look like us.
That's right.
They did not look like us. I'm telling you that. Can't nobody point to me a developer of our persuasion that got these big, that they may got a house, they might build a 3-family house. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about buildings, Brother Muhammad, Eddie. I'm talking about buildings that's going up. These brothers is building 14, 16-story buildings. Those were brothers that built that condominium on Clinton Avenue, on the brand new condos that's on Clinton by the park. Those are brothers that did that. We talk about Adina Howard with her development. The brother, I forget how to pronounce his name. The brother, that brother. Now you got Chanel Dunn in them. You got Brother Abby, who's up in who started in Delhi, and now he's doing development. Brother Abby, you got the sister Elise out there. We got black people that's doing huge projects in the city, and we complaining about that. When I know for a fact, because this bothers me, Ed. I know for a fact, during the James administration and the Booker administration, for that matter, none of us got any of that. They forced Reuben Johnson. Let me tell you something. Reuben Johnson and Will Allen and Herman Russell on the Springfield Avenue lot on Springfield Avenue where it's shot right at. That's what their whole plan. They wanted to put a shot right up there, and they wanted to put them all up there. I know because I was part of the project. I had a 2% stake in the project. I know that. I know this for a fact. You know what I'm saying? What happened to it? You know what I'm saying? And when Sharpton was in office, Reuben and Will Allen tried to get a tax abatement Before they got out of office, they tried to get a tax abatement so that they could develop that land because they knew once Booker came into office that he would not allow for them to develop that land. They did not give those brothers a tax abatement. They did not give those brothers a tax abatement. They allowed for Booker to come into office and stop Will Allen and them from developing that property to what they wanted to do. And when Corey came in office, he took a guy from Chicago, the Tucker Group, and forced Reuben and them to sell that land and the project that they had to that group. Forced them, man. They forced them, man. They forced them, man.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? They didn't want to sell that land. They did not want to sell that land. They were forced to sell that land. So you cannot sit up and you cannot tell me that what Mayor Baraka is doing is ensuring that some of us, some black folk, get an opportunity to do development like there's something wrong with you. Out of your mind? If we can go get a developer from Chicago that don't even live here, had nothing to do with here, just pick them up and pluck them out of and pluck him and turn around here and bring them here and force black folk to sell them their land.
Wow. Wow.
We can turn around here and make sure there are some brothers and sisters in this city or in this state, far as I'm concerned, that's going to get the ability to develop in that city. And we should do it proudly, without regret.
But you know what, Rock? You absolutely right. What you said last time. What we should do, Rock, we should start telling the truth, right? So that's what we're going to do, right? So when they put out these lies, we're going to come with the truth. We're going to talk about all of the good, because the only thing that these people want to put out is that there's nothing good going on in the city, and that's not true.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you got some sisters. Some that owned the bookstore. Another sister who had a consultant firm. They done got together. You got 3 black women that's about to build a 14-story building in the heart of downtown Newark. And we got people that's complaining about that, posting that there's something wrong with it, y'all.
Right.
That's really
they post like this, like something is wrong with that. Are y'all kidding me? You should be out there celebrating and jumping up and down. Are you serious?
Right. That's right. Yeah.
When we gave all the land, when we had much land that was available in the downtown area of the city of Newark, we really getting the crumbs, to be honest with y'all, brothers. The land that's left over right now, Jacinto right now, Jacinto got most of the big empty lots that's throughout the city. The one in the West Ward, all those lots off of Avon Avenue, all of that stuff was given under the James administration. All of that stuff was sold for $4 a square feet. It's not developed.
Ooh.
Wow.
That stuff is not developed. It's empty.
$4 per square feet.
$4 a square feet.
We couldn't keep that in the house.
$4 a square feet. All those empty lots off of Avon Avenue by Carrot and by Beth. All those empty lots is up there. The Pat River site. All of that stuff was sold to them.
Yeah.
We getting peanuts now. We getting the leftovers, and we complaining about the leftovers.
Yeah. Tell it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, brother. Listen, I get sick of these folks because it's like, folks, I was there. I know the history. You can't keep on trying to play with me, pretending to me that we did so much when I know for a fact that we didn't benefit from the stuff that was going on back then.
Yeah.
We did.
The property downtown, people always say, why this property wasn't developed? Well, the reason why it wasn't developed, because they made the tax law say that you only pay taxes on the property out the storefronts on the bottom. All of the property upstairs is tax abated. So there's no incentive for them to put those properties together. They're not paying taxes on it. That was done under the James administration.
Wow.
We're afraid that we talk about Black Power, but a lot of folks are afraid of it. Just afraid.
But you see, Rock, you see, Rock, the problem is, like you said, you pushing back now, but because nobody has been pushing back, they've been allowed to have those lies out there as though they are the truth. And that's not the truth, right? So
it's not the truth.
So thank God that you here and you alive and you can tell the truth, because you were in those meetings.
You was in those meetings. I was part of this stuff. So when I sit up here and listen to folks trying to change the history in this town to pretend that they did so much good, the same people that's running up there calling Rad Baraka corrupt today was calling them corrupt back then. The exact same people. We took $200 million from the Port Authority money. We borrowed $200 million. Well, not borrow. We got fronted $200 million, gave it to a billionaire to build an arena. We don't even own a damn box in there.
Wow.
We spent $200 million to build a arena. We don't even own a box, fellas.
Wow.
They didn't have the audacity to say, okay, we're gonna give you $200 million, but the city of Newark is gonna own at least a box.
Wow. Tell it, right?
We don't even have $200 million, fellas. $200 million that we leverage from the Port Authority money. $200 million. And we don't even have a box. We don't own a box in the Prudential Center.
Make it plain.
But people gonna sit up here and tell me about what happened and what they do and how the good old days and everybody worked in collaboration. Man, is y'all kidding?
Right.
You know how many people was fired because of politics back then? You know how many people were scared to work with people? And are y'all kidding me? The mayor doesn't do any of that stuff. I'm so sick of these people always putting that down on him. Talking about we threatening, bullying. Who's bullying? Y'all at the mic every freaking week. Who's getting bullied?
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. Who has we stopped from talking? How you being bullied? How you being intimidated? Who these individuals? I chose somebody the other day. It was something about we threatening seniors, they're gonna lose their apartment. Gail got 3,000 votes in the Central Ward. What senior citizen got put out because they voted for Gail Tannerville Jenkins? The senior citizen. People can say anything.
That's the Islamophobia that I'm worried about. I'm worried about, I love me some Mina Bay. But go ahead. You got it. You on point.
I mean, what I'm saying? It's like, what are we talking about? I sit here and I listen to some of this rhetoric. I see what's going on, man, and it's disappointing to me, brother. If you want to run, you got every right to run. Can't nobody stop you from running. God bless you. Run for office. But why do you have to bring people down to run?
Right.
Why do you have to do that? Why do you have to do that? Why do you have to bring somebody else down? Why do you got to make somebody corrupt? Why do you got to make somebody the devil for you to run? Why do you have to do that? Why do you have to do that? I don't demonize me because you want to run. Just run.
Right.
I'm not mad at you.
Right. And the thing is, right? I haven't heard the mayor of Mitty or any one of them say don't run. I haven't heard you say that, right?
Brother, I think that a healthy democracy requires good debate. What we don't require is made up stories. You know what I'm saying?
And I haven't heard anybody attack them the way that they're attacking this administration. I haven't heard anybody do that to them. I mean,
no, we don't. We don't.
Right. And
we don't attack them.
Right. And I think that you, Rock, have really been the only one that have started pushing back. The mayor did it a little bit, in his speech. But, for the most part, they've had free reign to just say all of the crazy stuff that they want to say.
Oh, no, they've had crazy reign for a long period of time, brother. And the problem is that when you don't push back on them, some people believe that. It's no different than what people used to say. I stole $5 million from the union because people kept saying that. And folks kept saying, oh, Rock, just ignore it. Ignore it? These people out here believing I took $5 million from the union. What the heck is y'all talking about? I don't have $5 million. You think I'd be around here listening to you if I had $5 million? Because clearly I must have got away with it. Right. It's clear that I must have got away with it. So why would I turn around and have gotten away with taking that type of money and still being there?
Right.
Like, but when you don't say anything about it, people believe it.
Yeah.
And they run with that narrative and they create you as something that you're not. And then you have to go back and try to correct it. And sometimes it'd be too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know who I hope hears you on this? Let's talk about Islamophobia at the beginning of this conversation. I hope that little brother across the water, Zoran Mamdani, hears you. because they're gonna be coming at him with all kind of madness.
Oh yeah. Oh, no question. Oh, they just waiting, bro. They're waiting to pound, bro. They're waiting to pound. He playing Trump playing possum right now, but he coming.
They beat their behind and they want to get. They want him gone.
Hey fellas, man, I gotta get out of here, man. Me and my wife about to go in this concert. So listen, man, we'll see y'all next month, man. Y'all enjoy.
Who you
See
going to
y'all
see?
later. I'm Bobby M gonna fall asleep, but don't tell her that. I'll see y'all brothers later, man. All right, peace, man. Love y'all. Take care.
Love you.
Way in regards. Lieutenant Colonel, I did not know that.
Yeah, man.
I did not know that. I love that. If you're gonna serve with distinction. Shit.
But you know, man, the thing is that, you know, I can remember hearing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say, he said that a lie could exist as long as the truth never come. But he said when the truth come, he said the lie can't live anymore, right? And unfortunately, there's so much of that's going on now without people presenting evidence. People are just saying all kind of crazy stuff, and
without people also, and you don't hear nothing about an alternative vision for leadership.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about, you know, where's the ideas, right? Let's talk about the ideas. Let's talk about what you all are going to put forward to make the city better. Not talking about someone personally or accusing them of something that you have no evidence of, but because Black folk love gossip and drama, I mean, you know, that's what we want to get hyped on, right? So you say that, but then if the folks don't say anything about it, what happens is it begins to live as though it's the truth when it's not, right? So we got to say thank you to Rock that, you know, he was there, and the fact that he's still alive and he can come and dispel those lies. So we got to say thank you to that brother for being willing to come forward and do that and stand up on behalf of the Barackas. But you know, Zaid, let's be real clear. You know that if them brothers have done anything illegal,
they've been long locked up.
They've already right.
Look, look at what we going with Chokwe Antar.
Yes,
and that's bogus.
Yes,
but it was just enough to give him a cloud of corruption, not any proof,
right?
A cloud of corruption, and to come up with an alternative slate willing to run against him to displace him, right, and drain his resources, which is one of their tactics,
right?
So that should be instructional, right? And if they had the means or something anywhere close to that, and that is wishy-washy. I looked at that was I'm surprised it even went that far. It's just that Mississippi state climate is so intent in its backwardness and hostility that they kind of made that into something that it's not. But that's oh man, they would have been unlocked around. They would have been they would have parade. That would have been a parade.
Case in point.
Oh my God.
Case in point, what's happening, you know, in Mississippi to our brother Chokwe, right? That's case in point. They would love to have gotten both of these young brothers, you know, the mayor and Mitty. They would have loved to have gotten them. So that should ring true to anybody and particularly in our community. That let's just ask ourselves a question. If they had anything based on who these two guys are, who their father was, who their mother is, come on, guys. Come on, let's be serious.
When they vamped on Ras at Delaney, they even had to back up off that.
Absolutely.
And that's why they attacked him, because they had nothing else. And that didn't stick.
Yes. So I think that you know, the folks in the city of Newark, our brothers and sisters, you know, who are listening to this stuff, I think that we should be clear, Black folks, that at the end of the day, people are playing on our emotions. They're playing on you know, things that we don't have, that we should have, that we're not involved in making things happen and change in the city. Get involved, brothers and sisters. Get involved. Become part of the change you want to see. Don't listen to those folks who are telling you that because they've got their own agenda. Right? And I think that we should be clear that at the end of the day, there's an old saying that if they come for me during the day, they're gonna come for you at night. Mm-hmm. And if you allow these folks that you are running to, that you are claiming they're there to help you, somehow find something on people that there's nothing to find, but you want to conjure something up, trust me, they're gonna get something on you, and then they're gonna hold that on you, and they're gonna hold it over your head. So if I was you, I'd be very careful running to these folks that you think are gonna be your savior, or you think that these folks somehow are going to hurt the Barakas or going to hurt this administration. Brothers and sisters, y'all got to think about that. There's a scripture in the Bible, Zaid, that says, before a man sit down to build a house, he should do what? Count the cost. What is it going to cost me? Do I have sufficient enough funds to build that house? Brothers and sisters, y'all should ask yourselves that. While y'all running around doing all of that, ask yourself that. Can you afford to pay the cost when this comes back to you?
Well, you know what James Brown said. Pay the cost to be the boss.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So, but I would tell all of them, run your race, right? Good luck to you. Run your race. As Jonathan said, all of y'all are welcome to come on the show and talk about your ideas.
In the chat, I would put a reminder in the chat.
Yeah.
Running for local office, this is an open platform for all candidates.
Yeah. You all are welcome to come on the show and put your ideas forward. Come forward and do that. But this is not a platform to come on and dispel lies and rumors. We're not going to do that, right? But all of you have an opportunity here to come and talk about how you all are going to make the city better. And none of the people that you're running against in the administration are above you running against them. You're welcome to come and do that, and good luck to you. We wish you all luck to do that, right? But we're getting ready to segment Zaid onto the next thing and began to invite the candidates on to the show to talk about who's going to be up for next. Hey, what's up, Kalina?
Hey, good evening.
You just missed some fireworks with Rahaman trying to set the record straight.
You know what? And I ran out. I was not paying attention to the time. I just looked up and it was 7:00. But maybe I didn't need to be a part of the fireworks. How you guys doing tonight?
We're good.
Good.
So, Zaid, do you know who's going to be up first? I see some folks in the back.
That's up to y'all. I just, I reached out to Mark because I knew he was running, and I think very highly of that young man. Mm-hmm. And Jonathan said, if you got a team, bring the whole team on. So y'all sort that out as you would in your ordinary process. In fact, this is usually what Jonathan usually just does that for us. So y'all sort that out any way you see fit.
Well, I'm sure the way he normally does it, he would give each candidate, some time. I don't know if it's 15 minutes, to sort of talk about their candidacy.
Yes.
Do you know who's up first, Kalina?
No, I don't.
Okay. So I'm just gonna go in order. I mean, we're gonna give everybody some time to sort of come up and talk about their campaign. So let's go first with this gentleman, and and let's see if we can. I see him in the back. I can't.
He's trying to get it. He's probably. It looked like he's having some connection issues. He's trying to get on.
Yeah. Let's try this one. Okay.
There's Mark.
Mark is ready. Hey, Mark. Good evening.
How you doing, Kalina? How you doing, Baba? How you doing, Mr. Riley?
Tell the rest of your mates if they're having issues, change their browsers and and see if that'll help them.
Sure. I think Quamid told me he's on. I think that's who was trying to join there, and Hasani should be jumping on. He's saying he's having an issue with his camera and mic. And you can feel free to ask.
Yeah,
there it goes, Hasani.
I see him, but you know, okay.
Hasani just popped in. All right. Ooh, what's going on? Ooh, popping loud.
Hey, Hasani, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you. All right, so
Ooh, baby.
We got the for some reason.
People.
For some reason, your other Slate member is having trouble with his camera. We can't get him in.
Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you. You may need to go in and come back out.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
So let me say first, welcome to All Politics Are Local. And you know, aside from being school board candidates, these are three awesome brothers who have done a lot of work in our community, who I highly respect. So when I saw you on the list, I definitely wanted to be a part of hearing from you and seeing what you have to say. I am familiar with your work, but there's a lot of people that have to vote for you to win this election. So, you know, I don't know how this is typically done, but just wanted to
15 minutes each.
Okay, 15 minutes each, and they're just gonna go straight through.
Yes.
All right.
I would say since you give them each some time to sort of talk about their platform, but since they're all running on the same slate, once they do that, they can sort of indulge in a conversation together. Right.
All right.
All right. So Mark, you were first on the call. Let the people know who you are.
Sure. Again, thank you just for the opportunity to be on. This is, I think, maybe my third time on. First time, however, as a candidate for school board. I'm a son of this city. My family's been here for 4 generations, if you include my children, and am an educator. Been an educator since I was 15 years old, and my father, who is a pastor in this city, told me, you're teaching Sunday school because we need someone to teach the little kids. And was my first kind of introduction, if you will, to teaching. And I fell in love and have been teaching ever since. I went to Newark Public Schools, K-8, was a student at St. Benedict's, graduated from St. Benedict's, and then went to Rutgers Newark for college, and then started teaching. Was teaching in the North Ward in middle school, teaching literacy to mostly 7th grade students, although I did some 6th grades, a couple years in 6th grade. And so I was a teacher for almost a decade. I also taught some high school, mostly in the summer. And then after teaching for almost a decade, I was able to graduate from Montclair State University with my master's in educational leadership, and was a supervisor and then a principal in the district of what was then called Uplift Academy, an alternative education school for 16 to 21-year-olds who had disconnected from school for any number of reasons. And we were really working to re-engage them in a pathway towards a high school diploma and workforce credentialing. And after being the principal of Uplift Academy for about 4 or 5 years, as I get older, the years start to get a little more blurry. I was able to be part of the founding team of Lead Charter School, which is an alternative education charter school serving the same demographic that I was serving when I was at the district. Again, 16 to 21-year-olds, young people who in this case had very limited options or choices of schools they could go to because they were overaged and undercredited. And so I was able to serve in that role as the head of school for Lead for again about another 4 or 5 years. And then I transitioned into leading the My Brother's Keeper work here in the city of Newark, which sits as an initiative of the Newark Opportunity Youth Network. And what MBK does is think around systems level work. How do we support, in this case, boys and young men of color in the city of Newark across 6 key life milestones? They are developmental milestones in the lives of all young people. But, in our case, the calling is to think specifically about our Black and Latino young men in the city of Newark. And so, I share that kind of resume, if you will, because I think what it does is it shares the reason why running for school board is something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, talking to my family, my mentor, praying on, and just think the time is right. And it really stems from a desire to really scale impact. When I was a teacher, I enjoyed teaching. I loved teaching. And I was serving, the 30 students in my classroom. Actually in middle school, because they switched classes, I was serving, sometimes 60 to 90 students across classrooms. I wanted to become an administrator because I wanted to be able to serve several hundred in a school building. And it was really about scaling impact. And so I was fortunate and blessed enough to have the opportunity to do that. After doing that, it was, how do I scale what I'm learning and impact, thousands, dare I say. And so that's where the MBK work and the opportunity was really just something of interest. And now the opportunity to be on the school board for the largest district in this state and serve, over 40,000 young people and families allows me to take what I've learned from the classroom, from the school building, and now from leading systems building work in the city and say, can I contribute as part of this 9-member board to scaling impact for the 40,000 plus young people in this city? So that's, part of why there's several reasons why I wanted to run, but that's one of those reasons. And that's the experience that I hope to bring with me. The last thing I'll say is that I've received a lot of affirmation from community folks and people I respect, like the three of you and others, just leaders, our elders in the city. But if I'm being honest, one of the most important affirmations I've received is from the former students I've served, either as a teacher, as a school leader, or even in the work that we're doing now. And so, I hear their voices. It really is encouraging. And it's those young people who I think about every day when I'm making decisions. And it's those young people, particularly our disconnected young people, our opportunity youth, those who have actually not typically been served well by the system. It's those stories and young people and their voices that I hope to bring to this work. So I'll stop there. We have a powerful team, folks who bring different perspectives and range of experiences. And so I'd like to open it up for them to be able to share as well.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much. Before we call on our next speaker, I just wanted to ask Mark a quick question. You said that you've had a lot of impact and scale, and you have, right? We can all testify to that, where, and even leading systems level work with My Brother's Keeper. I know you've won national award. My Brother's Keeper has won national recognition in its strategies to improve outcomes for Black youth in I believe in particular young men in Newark. But what I would want to know is, because you've had so much impact already, what is it about serving on the school board that most excites you? Like, what are you hoping to look at, understand better, examine first, if elected?
Yeah, I think it is. The district has some pretty impressive outcomes and some pretty impressive gains. We heard some of them actually recently in the mayor's State of the City address, where he talked about increased graduation rates and decreased attendance rates. Because the young people in my career that I have served have oftentimes disproportionately shown up in the data on the negative side of those outcomes. And so, for example, serving opportunity youth, young people who drop out of school or disconnect for any number of reasons, sometimes when we look at that 10% of students who are still chronically absent, it's oftentimes those who end up becoming opportunity youth. It's oftentimes our young Black and Latino men. And so I hope to be able to pull the layers back and see who is it that's showing up not showing up in the positive gains of the data, so that we can, serve them and think about strategies to meet their really specific and nuanced needs. The other thing I'll say, and Baba Zaid, just his experience in this area around the public safety ecosystem. And, Kalina, your point around the city having been recognized by President Obama, that recognition came because of the really this unprecedented outcomes in public safety. And I think if we are able to take the lessons we have learned and the gains in public safety's ecosystem and the lessons being learned and the gains being made in the education ecosystem and figure out how to better coordinate those two systems, we may actually break through some of the glass ceilings that I think that exist in those ecosystems. And I would offer up that glass ceiling may be actually coordination. And I would hope to be able to contribute to thinking about ways to do that.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
All right. Quamid, can you hear us? I see you in the chart. You said you can't hear.
I can hear you, Kalina, but I couldn't hear Mark.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, he said good things. You the proof. Okay. So Quamid, I think I've known you the longest out of all the candidates. Yes. And I don't, we'll want you to introduce yourself just as Mark did and tell us about who you are and your varied work in Newark and in Essex County. So let the people know who you are.
Yes. Hi. Good evening, good peoples. I thank you for this platform for myself and my running mates. My name is Quamid Charles, lifelong Newark resident. Grew up in Prince Street Projects. Had both parents in my household, which is a great blessing. And throughout my years, I didn't value the importance of education, even though, I was a fairly decent student. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until I got into ministry when I went to my church, Bet Hashem Yahweh. And under Bishop and Dr. Chris Purnell, they taught me the power of education. And this was the first time that I met someone that went to Ivy League school when I met Dr. Chris. Yeah. She went to Princeton University, and I didn't thought that was possible. Growing in the area that I grew up in, city of Newark, Prince Street, never thought that someone can go to a Harvard, to a Princeton, to a Yale. But meeting someone, and it's just, I can speak with you and ask you, how did you get to this level? So being in that type of environment, they taught me the power of education, the importance of education, and how education can not only make myself successful, but it can make my family successful, it can make my community successful, and it can make the world through my contribution. Been in ministry for 24 years, ordained minister at my church, and being in ministry, we value that we are world changers. And in being a world changer, I did missionary work. I went to Kenya, I went to South Africa, and I built up the ministries that were laid by the foundation of Bishop. I trained up the youth that were there and trained up the leaders in Kenya and South Africa. And just that experience was eye-opening to me, being a kid from Prince Street Projects, and here I am in Africa. But seeing the children in Africa receive a quality education where they speak well, they write well, they understand math. And here in America, we have all these resources and they are limited with what they have. But to see them excel, that caught a fire in me. And I remember I met someone named Brenda Scott.
Oh, yeah.
Home from Essex County College. Mm-hmm. And she said, hey, you go to Bet Hashem Yahweh Church, and me and her were talking. And she said, you need to hook up with a good friend of mine, Junius Williams, with African Leadership Institute. Yeah. So I said, all right, cool. And this is a full circle moment. She got me in contact with Kalina. Mm-hmm. And she said they had this educational advocacy classes on Saturday. So I went there. First person that I met was Kalina. And then I met Mr. Junius Williams. And this was in 2010. And I just got that hunger to be that community advocate for education in our community. And under Mr. Junius Williams, he just taught me so much about the value of education, policy, and vote, the power of vote. And we have the lowest turnout, but we have the highest budget in the city. And this is concerning our education. This is concerning our children. Absolutely. So throughout the years, did mentorship work, always have a love for children, always want to inspire children. I want to deposit something within them where when I leave their presence, they leaving motivated, they leaving inspired, they leaving ready to change the world and to be greater than they were before I met them. So I did mentorship work in the Essex County Youth Detention. And I also formed a mentorship with some good friends of mine in Elizabeth called Sons of Someone. Through then, I'm an employee at the Essex County Register's office. I am the purchaser there. And from there, just got involved in politics, became a district leader in the North Ward, became a part of the North Ward Democratic Committee, where I increased my engagement throughout Newark and throughout Essex County with my work in the ministry, going around in Essex County, engaging the youth, and engaging the adults, and just informing them on policies and informing them of our needs of the community. But it's just being a district leader, hearing the community, going from door to door in my district, asking the residents, what are your concerns? And just hearing their problems, knowing that, I can help you solve it. Like, I'm a problem solver. I want to help. Even if I can't help, I would try to find a way. But I'm just a man of my community, a man of my people, and I just love doing the work.
Thank you so much, Kwame, and thank you for the love to Abbott Leadership Institute. And so just listening to you talk about your journey from Bet Hashem Yahweh through ALI, probably one of our highest certificate holders to date, and just also in your role as a district leader, a lot of the things had a similar narrative: mentorship, access to excellence, world travel. So from that perspective, what is something that you're most excited about to examine or address in education in Newark if elected to the school board?
One of my most things is changing our mindset with our children to the mindset of that you could do anything that you believe. My biggest havoc is financial literacy and STEM. And I recently got married last year, and my wife has an 8-year-old son, which I consider my son. And I don't have any children of my own. So spending a lot of time with my son, Corey, I'm just seeing his habits, the way he studies, the way he learns, but the games that he plays. And I'm seeing him play Roblox one day. And I had to tell him, like, you're capable of building a system like this. You have the smarts, you have the excellence, and you can do this. Like, you can build a technology platform where your friends can play on this platform. But then I also had to tell him that, do you also know that Roblox is on the New York Stock Exchange for a publicly traded company? So just changing his mind, just the way that he thinks. And I believe that we should implement more financial literacy, if not in our classroom, but we should develop community hubs where we partner with local businesses, we partner with financial institutions where we could bring this to our children, where they can learn about the stock market, they can learn about budgeting, they can learn about investing. I just got into investing during the pandemic, and it's like, I wish I knew this type of knowledge years ago. And with this, we can create generational wealth. But just speaking to my son about it, it's like a light bulb went off in him where he wanted to know more. And it's just like, if he wants to know more, how many other students out here that don't have this information and they want to learn more? And I just believe what I can bring to the school district is that we shouldn't have our students just studying to take a test. And we should not have our students just competing against another student who they sit next to, competing against someone in the district, where we should be a national model, where our students, they have the capability of turning Newark into the next Silicon Valley. And our students, they have the capability of turning Newark into the next Wall Street, where they're greater than the CEO of Goldman Sachs, greater than the CEO of these big time financial institutions. But we have the capability of doing that by implementing more programs around financial literacy, around STEM, around technology, especially around the advancement of AI, where I feel as though that we shouldn't use AI to scare our children. We should use it to empower them, because with the narrative, AI is going to take your jobs. But it's like, how are we training our students and teaching our students that you could be greater than this and you can implement these type of skills where they're not going to take your jobs, but you're going to be an asset to this.
Thank you, Quamid. Thank you so much. All right. And next up, we got our current school board president, Hasani Council. Mr. Council, welcome to All Politics Are Local. Tell the folks about yourself.
Thank you so much, Colleen. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me. Can everyone hear me?
We sure can.
All right. Thank you. Thank you to all my brothers and sisters that are on today. As Kalina stated, my name is Hasani Council. I am currently serving as the president of the Newark Board of Education, the only incumbent running this election season. I've been serving on the board since 2020, serving in different capacities, now just serving as the president of the board. I'm a product of the Newark Public School System, a product of our great city, having attended George Washington Carver Elementary School, as well as University High School, went off to college at Montclair State University, received my Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, as well as my Master's of Arts in Law and Governance. Came back home, immediately started working in my community, which I've been doing my entire life. Worked as an aide to former Councilman John Sharp James, now working as the Chief of Staff to South Fork Councilman Patrick Council. Been getting a lot of work done on this board. I serve in various different capacities in my community. Also serving as a district leader with the South Fork Democratic Party. Serve as a deacon in my church. Serve with the Essex County Urban League Young Professionals as the Director of Education and Community Outreach with them. I am currently one of the highest certified board members on our board right now, having obtained the highest level of certification any board member can receive. I serve on the board of directors for the Council of the Great City School Conference, which is the 81 largest school districts in the entire country. So I've been putting in a lot of work in these 6 years, and I'm looking forward to another successful term of 3 years. I have a lot of unfinished business to get done. I can point to a lot of great successes, and I look forward to having everyone's support.
Thank you, Hasani, and definitely just thank you for your service and commitment. You got a lot going on. So to be dedicated to our children, we appreciate that. So my follow-up question for you is, it's been 6 years on the board so far. What is something that you're most proud of? If you could pick one thing that you've done for the children of Newark Public Schools, what is the one thing that you've championed or led that you really are proud
of? Thank you for that, Kalina. I'm just trying to think of the one thing. I have been instrumental in making sure that our facility par and sure that they are being taken care of, upgrading our fields and stadiums. I think I went
out. I think we're having some trouble with your camera.
We can hear you. And I can understand that because I just got service just now. Been traveling through Georgia. Can you hear me? And so there are certain parts of rural Georgia where the service was not as good. And I realized that Verizon has its limitations when it comes. Verizon used to be the best one, not quite so much anymore. Glad my wife has much better service than I do, and can jump back on. Yay for AT&T. I know that your time is running like less, right? Like you don't have much time left, but there were some questions that I definitely wanted to run in for the board, right? And for people who will be future members or potentially future members of the board and current member of the board. We for years have known that there's been tensions between charter schools, private and public schools, especially when it comes to funding. We know that there's a lot of money that is directed toward charter schools. Right now, about a third of Newark's budget goes in the charter district. There has been recently new charter expansions in Newark. And we know that the leadership of the district is pretty much opposing that, right? As members of the board, if you have a say, and it seems like there's...
Jonathan, hold on for a second. I don't think we gave Jody, is that Jody? Is that your name? Jody, I don't think we gave him an opportunity to introduce himself.
Introduce himself? All right, with the biography, all right? Because I've been in and out, listening to some things and not hearing others. But biography, introduce yourself. Hello?
Can he hear us?
Jordy? Jordy, can you hear us?
We can't
Can
hear
you hear
him.
me?
He probably can't even hear us.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Jonathan. I don't think he can hear us.
Yeah, I don't think he can hear us.
Okay. Okay. If someone can just text him and just let him know that he probably should go out and then come back in again. I know that the depending on where we are right now, the different cell services is telling. So for the people who are here, right? What is, if you had the ability, which it seems like the state is looking for local leadership to take a stand or weigh in, to write letters, etc., to support particular charter school expansion or not. Given that Newark is now considered a high-performing district, they are actively opening new schools. Do you think it is appropriate to endorse new charters inside of Newark? And this is to all the candidates.
It looks like some folks are having issues, so I'll jump in if that's okay. First of all, hey Jonathan, how you doing? Good to see you.
Hey
again,
man, good seeing you too.
Yeah. Safe travels, by the way.
Thanks.
So I as I mentioned in my kind of bio, if you will, I was part of the founding team for a charter school here in the city. It was a pretty unique charter school in that we were looking to serve a specific demographic that, quite frankly, doesn't really have much of another option if they're looking for a traditional high school diploma and their workforce credentialing. Again, these are young people who are overage and undercredited and are between the ages of 16 and 21. And so I think there's I would argue that we are providing a viable pathway for a particular demographic that really has very few options. I think that's something that should be considered if we're talking about how do we provide more high quality options to young people who maybe are not receiving, and families who are not receiving the services that they need. So that's one.
And I think that, like, with the charter school that you were involved in was, I believe it was a workforce charter school that did community work that people just didn't do, right? The most recent charters that were expanded in Newark, I believe one was North Star, and so, like, we're talking about not necessarily those who were serving the charter school that you developed, people who had dropped out, people who were people who had to be caught, right? That actually helped the district.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that I'm talking about are ones that we're in competition with the district. And I think that Newark Public Schools, certain charter schools, they compete for the same students and compete for students who can be well served in either system, but they're marketed that way. I'm really pushing more toward those, like the recent charter expansion of North Star or others. Are those the schools that you would support expanding, like expanding charter? I mean, expanding North Star. Are those schools that would get, yes, we need more of them?
Yeah, I mean, so pivoting to that specific strategy of those types of charters, if you will, I don't think it is a simple yes or no. The first thing I would say is that the school, the Newark Board of Education board isn't in on making those decisions. There's a state level process for that. And so there is a methodology, if you will, that folks have to go through to get approval for seats, whether it's a new charter, expansions, et cetera, et cetera. I also think that part of what makes this not a gray area is that 35%, I think, is around the number right now of the families or the children in this city sit in a charter school. And so that's a large number. We're talking about over 20,000 young people. And so that is a group and a demographic, and those are our neighbors that also need to be considered in these conversations. And so the idea of saying that we need to pick one way of doing this or the other. I think is one that needs to be had in the totality of the options that exist for our families. I don't think it's as simple as a
And
yes or
and
no.
and that wasn't should charter schools exist,
Mm-hmm.
because they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's about expansion, because as we said before, 1/3 of Newark's budget goes through charters. The question is, should there be more? Should it expand? Because we know that in many places where when they expand, there are problems that come with funding, et cetera, right? Like, so given where we are, the question specifically is, do charters need to have a larger blueprint in Newark than they do right now? It is not about whether or not charters should exist. They do. It is about expansion, which is what many of them seek.
Yeah, Mark and Jonathan, can I jump in on this one real
Sure,
quick?
absolutely.
Thank you. So one, in terms of your question about expanding, right? So I don't think we should allow them to expand until they fill the seats that they currently have vacant. They have several seats that they have vacant, and they continue to, request expansion and expansion without filling those vacant seats first. Secondly, we have to put more pressure on them to serve the same amount of students that Newark Public Schools serve, right? So the amount of English language learners that we're serving, the amount of special needs students that we're serving, they need to up their amount of students that they're serving in those categories as well. Because as of right now, it's not fair. And it is unfair for the district to continue to have to keep serving these students, and the other networks that we have in our city are not serving them as well.
Thank you. And is there anyone else who would like to directly address it, or directly address, especially the issue of expansion of charter schools? Because I know one of the strategies that's being used is getting letters and recommendations from local officials for charter expansion. So even though you don't have the official role of adding new charter schools, in their application, they're going to go to elected politicians, people who represent the community, and expect them to give, or request them to give their name toward charter expansion, which is why this question is really relevant to anyone who's going to have any public office, but very specifically the board.
So as a board member, we don't provide those letters. The board as a whole will send something through the superintendent, basically explaining that we're not against them renewing, but we're not for them expanding because it's going to have a fiscal impact on our budget and on our district.
Okay. All right, and thank you. Is anyone else who wants to comment on that in any way?
Yeah, the only thing is I'll circle back to the point I made on the front end also, which is, and I think you made this point, Jonathan, when you asked about really specific schools. You asked about North Star, you asked about KIPP. And what I was arguing is, not arguing, what I was positing is that it sounds to me like there's a case-by-case basis. And so the umbrella of like, would you or wouldn't you, I think is where I'm uncomfortable saying a hard yes or no, because I do think the charter I was a part of starting is a case-by-case basis. And so I think I want to make sure that we're able to be nimble in what it is that families are requesting and demanding. And Hasani's right. I think there's seats that need to be filled and should be filled before we start talking about some expansions.
Jonathan, real quick, I just wanted to ask, how many charter schools are there in the city of Newark?
Wow, Donna's always with these gotcha questions. Like everybody, I'm stumped. I don't know how many. I know the percentage of money that, like, it's about 1/3 of Newark of the money that goes to the Newark Public Schools goes to charters, which is why it's become a big issue. But that's an excellent question, and also because all of us are stumped by it. I guess that's also a thing too, right? Like, I don't want to make it like the stumping of the candidates with this question, because it's a legit question, but it's also legit. We don't know the exact numbers. It's true too, right?
Yeah, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I do believe it is a little bit over 20 charter schools.
Okay.
I just want to ask a question because I know, thank you, Jonathan, for asking about what essentially is pulling resources from Newark Board of Education at a time when state and federal resources are struggling. Under the Trump administration, we've seen a lot of cuts to programs, to initiatives that have been able to make up some of the gap of what public education provides, such as TRIO programs, after school programming. So many different initiatives that are in partnership with the board are impacted by federal budget cuts. And then we have a deficit at the state level that is going to impact funding distribution. So I think the voters really want to know what the people that they elect are going to do for children. That's what I know as a parent. I want to know. I want to know, what are you going to champion, improve upon, and do for children? So if you could identify an area of the budget resources for children in our district that you feel need more attention, more funding, better use of allocated funds, what would that area be? And I would love to hear from each of you. I have my own ideas if I was on the board where I would advocate for more resources. So where would you put more resources, and what would that create as an improvement for servicing young people in the city?
Yeah. I realize that I've been off mute this whole time, so I guess I'll go again, and I'll be really brief. And Kalina, because of the work you've done with ALI and with young people, I think you'll understand maybe more than most the genesis of where this comes from. I've been hearing a lot from young people around the desire for mental health supports. Sure. And so that is something that I think we need to pay attention to. We need to listen to. We need to evaluate all of the supports that exist and make sure that young people are clear that these supports exist. And if some of them need to be improved upon, kind of get that feedback and hear from young people. But when I hear it happen so often in different meetings, in different conversations from different young people in different groups across the city, it makes me say it's something that we need to ask more questions about and partner with them on to see, how do we renew our efforts in that area? So that's one of the first ones that comes to mind.
Thank you, Mark. Hasani?
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for that. And I totally agree with Mark. What most folks don't know, some of our mental health funds from the federal government was cut, and we had to fill that gap with a lot of our general budget. But one thing I think we all should continue to focus on is our student outcomes and making sure that our students are performing at the level they should be performing at. So with that being investing in higher dosage tutoring, investing in our curriculum, investing in our books, creating different pipelines, which we've been doing, and also just upgrading our facilities. Our facilities play a major part in the educational system of our students. You may have a student that may go into one school building and it's too hot or it's too cold. But that's because our facilities are aging and we're trying to do our best in keeping them up. And we're spending a lot of money, trying to make sure that our buildings stay up to code, they stay in shape for our students to fit in. But I really do believe at this time, the state of New Jersey definitely has to, figure out how they can step in to help upgrade a lot of these buildings, build our new schools that they promised us years ago that they have not done yet. Right. So that's why our district, have been taking the task of trying to figure out how can we find different ways and resources to give our students what they deserve, a building of high quality, a building that they can walk in and feel comfortable being in, that they can learn, creating that environment for them. So that's a lot of the work that I've been trying to push, for these 6 years that I've been on the board.
Yeah, Hasani, I can definitely second that. We do a lot of programming for Newark Youth Career Pathways and Eagle Academy and in University High School, 2 schools in the South Ward. And, the work that they're doing in those schools for young people, those students deserve better buildings. And I know we've been hearing a lot about development in the city and other wards, but I am going to personally plead that if elected to the board, if re-elected to the board, that we look at our South Ward schools. Principal Janique Hamilton at University is doing a tremendous work. Principal Moran at Eagle doing tremendous work. They need new buildings, so let's add them to the list.
Yeah,
actually, that's
absolutely,
but
absolutely with that,
but
Kalina, right?
actually
So
this
I
but
help
actually
push.
just for this actually leads to the next question I was going to ask, right? Because you're talking about facilities, and there's like a 10-year strategic plan that a lot of people have been getting a lot of flack for, because they say, why are you building new buildings when we have these other buildings? Why are you like, there are a lot of questions. You see this in the media, etc. So given that there is a strategic plan that is supposed to deal with building new buildings and creating new buildings, right? And taking the existing buildings that we have and refurbishing them and redoing them, and a lot with those renovations. Given the controversies that we've seen with new school buildings that are going to cost a lot of money, the recent controversies with the building being built in Newark, in that church that's being renovated. There's also controversies about like building more schools in the South Ward. Given and Hasani, you're actually on the council. I mean, you've been on the council. Where is the strategic plan when it comes to building new buildings all over the city, including the South Ward, um, and renovating them? Are we headed in that right direction? What's going on with the plan as it exists right now?
Thank you for that. So, one, what most folks don't know and probably don't understand is that because we are an Abbott district, we can't build our own school buildings. We have to rely and wait on the state of New Jersey through the School Development Authority to build us any type of new buildings. The only way we can get any new buildings is going through a private-public partnership and leasing that building with an option to buy at the end of that lease. So in terms of like the renovations and stuff, we get grant funds. We take a lot of our money that we save throughout the year through our capital improvement fund and other funds that we have to try to take that money to push back into the other school buildings to help with just, some simple, a boiler or an HVAC unit. So I know we just got a grant that we just voted on from the School Development Authority. And as fast as we got the grant, it goes away extremely fast because we have, facade falling at a school that is going to be $10 million. We have, other issues at other schools. But with University High School, I'm so glad that I was able to, because that is my alma mater. I'm so glad I was able to push, with the superintendent and the SDA to make sure that that building comes to fruition for the South Ward. They've been doing a lot of planning and designing. They were pushing the planning out long. We sped them up. We've been working with the city as well to, close off some streets. We are now in like the final design stages because I sit on a committee and designing the school. We're in the final design stages. We're now there at the capability of putting that design out to bid and have somebody bid on it so the school can be built. But there was controversy around that. People were upset. Well, why is University getting a new school? Why is the South Ward getting a new school? Why is it going to cost this much? Why are we using taxpayer dollars to build new school? Because our students deserve it, right? Enough is enough with our students being in lackluster buildings. They deserve the same high quality school system and same high quality buildings as any other school district in this state. And I'm tired of people, looking down on our students and our school system and not thinking that we deserve the best. And I'm going to do everything that I can do while I'm on this board to make sure that our students get the best.
Thank you, Hasani. So I just want to note, because I don't think it's been said, that the school board election is April 21st in Newark. And I believe, how many candidates can folks vote for? It must be 4.
You can vote for 4. So we have the 3 regular 3-term, and then we have 1 for the unexpired term. Me, Mark, and Quamid are running for the 3-year term, and Jordy Nivar is running for the unexpired term.
Got it. All right. So April 21st, everyone. I also want to make note that young people 16 and 17 can also vote in the school board elections. They are, as of last year, eligible to vote. However, they must be registered in order to vote. Last year, I think 1,700 young people registered, but only 75 actually came out. And most of them were from probably YMS and the Gym Project. So we are working this year to better develop our voter outreach activities for young people. And so my last question, I know Jonathan has more questions, so I'll be quiet. I just want to know how y'all trying to reach the young people. So before you leave, when you at the end of Jonathan's next question, tell me, how are you planning to get the 16 and 17-year-old vote, which, as Mark said, is the hardest vote to get? So I'll turn it over to Jonathan.
No, you can actually ask that question now, because I threw in the questions because I knew we were reaching the end of the segment, and I'd missed half of the segment. I knew they were giving their biographies, but I wanted to get those questions in for charter expansion, because I know that that's a national issue, and I don't think we talk about the private-public competition as it actually is. And so I just wanted to see what people thought about that. I appreciated, Mark, I appreciated the nuance when you were talking about the very specific type of charter that you did, something that I think the district supports. I think that everyone supports that particular type of work, because you are literally going after students who get lost through the cracks, finding students. As a matter of fact, I think the program that you did, you weren't trying to just recruit students. You were, like, in terms of from the general population, you were literally trying to find students who were no longer in school, students who, like, people had missed, who fell through the cracks. I think that's very, very different model than the models that are controversial, or the models that compete with public school districts for those funds, right? Like, I think if everyone did what your charter did, I think we'd be having a very different conversation about charters in general. And the next question was about buildings, because I know that has been super controversial, specifically with the in the news when they're talking about the spending off of new school buildings construction. So I wanted to have all of you comment on building and spending as well. So those were my two questions. The question about how are you targeting youth voters, I think is legit. Please, I'd love to hear that. And I know that we have to go to the end of this segment.
All right, Hasani, tell us first. How you getting the young people to vote?
Every day, we're out here every day. We're going to try to attend as many events that we can. We are working to register as much as we can. That deadline has passed. I know we've worked with the mayor's office as well to register folks. We are going to push them to get out there, whether it's, showing up at the schools or, just, being at the games or events that they're at, and just reminding them, hey, you have the power to vote now. You have that right. And, you should use the right that was given to you to vote.
All right. Thank you, Hasani.
Let me ask you guys a question. And this is to you, Hasani. Is there a way, because there's always been this conversation about, when elections come around, to sort of make it like a holiday, right? So that folks don't have any, drawbacks or complaints about, oh, I was busy, I couldn't get off, I couldn't do this to go out and vote. Is there any conversation about maybe giving the students, if not the day off, a half a day, so that they may be able to go out and vote?
Or can they vote in their schools? The thing was, would they be able to vote inside their schools? Has that been suggested? And Cleanup, you might know about this as well. So this is for everyone. Has there been an effort to have students be able to vote within their schools itself? Every school, a potential polling place, and the kids who are registered can vote in the actual school that they attend?
Yeah, I know it was suggested. And, some of that stuff falls with the county and the state of New Jersey. With polling places being at the schools, some schools are polling locations in different elections. I just think in terms of also in terms of it being a holiday, that's something that can be thought of. We would just have to figure out what day to take away to add that day, because we are mandated to have like 180 days of school. So, all of these different like state laws that play into part, even with us like trying to go into the school buildings, right? We could be like in violation of state law trying to, campaign or even encourage them to go vote for particular people or register to vote. That can get us caught up in a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Hassan, did you answer, Mark? Did you answer it?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll be really quick. I think one, to Kalina, your question, I've been leveraging young people, quite frankly, that I interact with, even my own sons. I have a 17 and a 21-year-old. And so making sure that they're getting their friends, that they're spreading the word, making sure that, young people I engage with or have known, former students, etc., also are getting involved. In the case of the also, how do we get more of them to vote? I think removing barriers is definitely part of the strategy. But I also have Miss Carter, Linda Carter's in my ear, talking about the role of civics and just how we also get young people to understand through curriculum, through instruction, to understand the power that there exists in voting and what that vote means. Because I think that's also part of this strategy, not just how we make it easier for them to vote, but also how do we, in that making it easier, also make sure they understand that it's not something that's easy. It's something that's been earned through the history of people of color, particularly Black people in this country, fighting for that, right? Women fighting for that right. And I think that's also important for them to understand.
Yeah, and I think more young people will vote when they see how quickly we respond to requests and their actions and their advocacy. I know at my organizations, whenever young people ask for something, not only do we listen, but we give them the credit, and we make a big deal about the power of their voice and their influence over our work. So I think one thing we can do, and I encourage you to do, if re-elected to the school board, is just to show young people through your action and support of their advocacy how powerful their voice is. And when we do that, I think that they will vote more because they will believe that what they do actually counts. It's so hard to get the attention of adults in Newark, except for a few safe spaces. So that's my final thought.
I want to add that I do believe, and I know this from working, that you have a friend, a very strong advocate in the city clerk, in the county clerk, Chris Durkin. And one of the things that we were able to do was allow him off election season is to bring the machines into the school and kind of do a mock election, and show and get the kids excited. So when re-elected, maybe that's something you could do where they can, vote for the best, vote for something where everybody comes out in the school, and you could do it at different schools and they come vote. So they become used to doing it. And then, you tell them, don't forget, next school board that you can vote and do things like that. But I also want to add, I don't know if you've seen that the federal budget for 2027 proposed budget has come out, and they're proposing to cut $350 million in HBCUs, $8.5 billion in K through 12. So as when elected and when re-elected, as you're crafting your plans, just keep in mind that, as you already previously stated, that you have a federal budget, governance that's doing more harm than help to education.
And I know that we've reached the end of our segment. I know we have our next guest in the back, but I want to thank everyone for coming out for this. And I know we've kept you for a little longer for all of us having some technical difficulties. Also, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we are encouraging, inviting. If we have not gotten to the candidates yet, we will try to reach out to you, reach out to us. You are welcome on our forum. We believe in civil civic discourse. Everyone who's running for office, we do want on our show to talk and get their point out. So the other people who are running for school board, we want you on our show as well. We might not be as me personally, I might not be as organized as getting to everyone, but reach out. We will try to get you. We will try to get you on. So thank you, and thank you for showing up, and thank you for giving your time for this. And and take care.
And wait, Mark, looked like you was about to say one. Or you said thank you. That's it.
I was just saying thank you. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
And
thank you both for your service.
What?
All your work.
Ed had another question. Go ahead, Ed.
No. We just want to say good luck to all of them.
That's
and
right.
and that guy over to the left named Hasani, I think he's related to another guy that we know. His name is Pat. Tell that guy we said good luck too.
Yep,
absolutely. Thank you.
All right, man.
Good night.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, Zaid.
Yes,
I
sir.
think we are ready for the next segment to start.
And we just want to offer our apologies for being a little late. So I know she's been here for a minute. We just want to apologize.
Elorm, there's areas. Okay. Well, welcome back to two young folks I'm very proud of. Last night, I'm going to introduce this segment this way. And I want Felicia and Elorm to appreciate where I'm going with this. Last night, I was doing some groundwork for a potential film festival for my Malcolm X organization. And I had the privilege to share the company of a fabulous young filmmaker named Yoruba Richin, who had just dropped a film on the case of Joanne Little. But Yoruba has also done a film that was spotlighted on PBS a few years ago on the Wilmington, North Carolina massacre of 1900. So why am I talking about that? Because in the response to that massacre, some people were slaughtered, some people had the audacity to fight back, and some people had to flee. What was the Wilmington massacre about? It was that last battleground of the Klan overthrowing Reconstruction. And they were wanting to wipe out the last Black elected officials in that landscape. And the last congressman in that landscape was a guy by the name of George White. White and several of those close to him fled that persecution, right? And this is Good Friday too. So, I mean, all this stuff is coming up in my head in a very prophetic way, right? To a tract of land in South Jersey that they claimed and named it Whitesboro, right? Fleeing persecution, right? Genocidal prosecution, right? Landing in New Jersey and claiming a space that they call Whitesboro. Small, all-Black town where our people who founded it were refugees from homegrown racial terrorism. And why you say, wow, that's profound, that's beautiful, da 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 da. Well, I'm glad they made it. Well, you should know that this is Jersey. This is Soprano State. We got specialists in theft, corruption, and all those other things too in New Jersey. And the descendants of that same exodus are now fighting for another battle to hold on to that town and to have genuine self-determination, because there's some skullduggery going on with deeds and land claims and all that are so Soprano State characteristic that are going on. But not only that, the Whitesboro Historical Society has been for several years now really amping up that incredible history as a gateway to bringing people together to fight for that town. And not only that gala, they're getting ready to talk about, It's also uplifting people who are fighting for justice, coming from some everywhere. And we got some folks that we know that are being awarded at that gala. But I wanted to, so let me welcome back Felicia Simmons and Elorm Ocansey of the Whitesboro Historical Project. I want y'all, now I gave my intro, right? For my old big head, right? But I want y'all to share from the ground just what that history is, why it's important, and then we'll lean into the gala and some of your awardees and what you're trying to do now. Then Elorm, you know this one. When she start talking, she ain't gonna stop. So you better.
I'm looking to him. So let him lead. Let him lead.
I'm forever a gentleman. Ladies first.
Thank you, son.
I'll take that statement and I'll run with it. I want to say that you are 1,000% correct about the history. And also, I just want to throw in people, the clans burning out right here in New Jersey of Cape May City, and a refugee from the same era needing a home, right? I think Miss Shirley would be dismayed if I forget to talk about the locals who are looking to rebuild also, right? With the people coming in from Wilmington. And I just want to talk about the prophetic and powerful strategies that these great people, the more we dig, the more we find, like Congressman White and Vic and Aretha Gibbs and Reverend Fishburne, to build this city that is taking 120 years for them to try to unravel piece by piece. The intricateness of having a post office and a designated zip code, right? To steal these land from this group of people who are resilient from us, right? Still to this day with eminent domain. This battle is not just, a small New Jersey history, like you said earlier. It is literally American history. It is resilience. It is the power that we have always possessed to free ourselves and to liberate ourselves. And I think that power in this gala is just just a showing of that power from all sides. It's not just Black people that we're honoring. We're honoring Black people who are willfully stepping to us as equals as we are to liberate ourselves, because this is unapologetically a issue of Black liberation that we never hid, right? From the beginning, we wants to be free, and we are free. And in this gala, in this space of bringing our community together, and we're looking for it just not to be a Whitesboro thing, not just the small town in New Jersey. It's all of our thing, right? We'll love to invite the gentleman that you were speaking to last night to come on out, right? Be part of us, right? Take the time to
Yeah,
right? And then I'm going to pass over to Ellen, because I can go on and on. I can go on and on, but just to say that, our end game is for us to self-govern like we've always done there, and to continue to self-govern and to be our own space. But I'm just going to steal a little of Elorm's thunder, like he said when he was in a meeting on our behalf last week or earlier this week. You might not give us our independence, but you're going to give us our justice. You're going to give us what we need so we can survive. And on that note, when he was in a meeting with the transportation in the city earlier this week, on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Minister Ocansey so I can shut up a bit, because y'all know I can talk. Minister Ocansey.
There's nothing much I could add to that. Happy Good Friday, good people.
Yes, sir.
For those who celebrate, as a Christian myself, a believer in Jesus Christ, today's one of those days where we reflect on what the devil thought he had. But in a couple of days, you'll know the end to that story. So for the people by Whitesboro,
And Brother Zaid, to your point about Wilmington and the history there, the Congressman George Henry White, who was the last Reconstruction Congressman, 1897 to 1901, having the foresight to know that we were entering an era, the end of Reconstruction as they knew it back then, and pretty much the birth of the Jim Crow era, stepping forth in its totality, got together while in Congress in New Jersey, making moves to secure and build what he saw then was the future of his community. And the point that I loved about the work they did was it wasn't something just restricted to the space which he served. I mean, he was a congressman in North Carolina. He was moving across the country, working with people, prominent leaders all across the nation, in this vision of having a consortium to build something that can be replicated across the nation, and you could even say across the world. And so, starting from the massacre, where they could have easily said, you know, Father, forgive them, for they know what they're doing. They also had the spirit of, no, we can know that we're being oppressed, and also take initiative to build for ourselves a space where we can thrive. And so it's in that history, in the work that these ancestors have built, that myself, I got an opportunity when I started out in this game as a young organizer to contribute to that legacy, to that history. And that's what really birthed the project. And as I've met people across the state, Felicia in particular, and many, many other people across this great state of ours, inviting everybody to come down and see themselves in the story of Whitesboro, and then also allow Whitesboro to see themselves in the story of Asbury Park, in the story of Newark, in the story of Franklin Township, because there's a thriving Black community here that's been here for a very, very long time. People doubt it, but it's been in existence. And, we want to bring all of that together and say we're working in one vision to get the check that we're owed, and to be able to live the soft life in comfort and in luxury.
Let's John. There's something I want people to appreciate, though, because I want them to have the latest version of where this is at, and that is the current efforts to deplace folks from the land that they own. There are these conversations about folks having their deeds and the county having a land slate that looks very different from folks' actual deeds. Tell folks about that. And we have an ongoing discussion in New York about deed theft in Brooklyn, right? What does that look like in the struggle to displace our folks for having some self-determination in Whitesboro?
Okay, I love to talk about that. If unless Elorm, you want to step forward, but I have my just studying it and actually going and talking to the tax assessors. What they did was a land shift and a renaming, right? So I want to say close to 15 years ago, across the state of New Jersey, there was a big redrawing of the maps. It was supposed to mirror the old maps, but it did not, right? What it did was shift, rename, reclassify, shrink, right? Cut and renumber. So what literally are sitting in people's attics or their safes or in their lock boxes is something completely different from the maps that they have now. Now, counties have the right to rename and to reorganize, but they don't have the right to reshape and cut and redistribute land to other people. And this isn't something that's just happening. You mentioned it about in New York. Also, it's across the country, a way to steal. Because what happened in towns like Whitesboro that are older population, and what they do when they rename things, the urban ghetto, right? The rural ghetto, as it did in one newspaper article. And when they restrict funds and resources and non-paved streets and streetlights, it causes a generation to move away, right? Nobody wants to stay there. They can't find work. They can't support their families. So what do? They move, they leave their parents' houses, they devalue the property to its nothing. They have abandoned lots that so they can just come in and take, right? They just steal. And then if somebody goes to reclaim it, it doesn't match their deed, or the town doesn't exist. Because it wasn't just Whitesboro, it was Junction, it was Millville. It had a bunch of different towns outside of Whitesboro. Burley were all these black towns at the time. And then what happened is they renamed it, right? All of a sudden, Courthouse appeared. That's just like on documents now. You don't live in Whitesboro anymore. You live in Courthouse. Well, Courthouse was only a mile big town designated over 100 or so years ago to literally just have the courthouse. So how did that unincorporated town grow so big, right? How did it become such a big space, right? What happened to Millville, right? That's now Burley or Courthouse. What happened? Your deed says Millville, right? Or Junction, right? Or all those different places that don't exist anymore on paper. And what happens when you go to fight it, right? They're like, hey, you didn't pay taxes on this piece, so they took it. And they were like, hey, I've been paying taxes, but the taxes are for something else because they shifted. Just like the place that Mrs. our partner in Whitesboro owns, her house that she owns where the museum is, right? Well, on the city's municipalities map, it belongs to the church that's behind it. But she has the deed and she paid for the lot. So this isn't just something, this is people that are deeply in the game that
So
know
Felicia,
the rules.
I was going to ask you
Go
that.
ahead.
So you're talking about the historian. She still lives there. That's who you talk. I think her name is Miss Shirley.
Yeah, Shirley Green. She still lives in what you call Burley. And she still lives in Whitesboro, yes. And she owns property still in.
And when she purchased her property, her lot, it was Whitesboro, right?
Yes.
Okay, so her deed will reflect 555.
It should reflect.
No, her deed does reflect.
Go ahead.
It does not. Her deed.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Her deed. I'm saying her deed.
In multiple properties. So she has her address now, where she physically lives, is 46 Oyster Road, and it says courthouse. Right?
No, when she originally purchased, she has the deed for when she originally purchased, right?
Yes, other properties. In her original, and I'm talking about, she's talking about where the museum is. Right,
Okay.
that's the one I'm specifically talking about. Her original property deed said this and that, right? It said Whitesboro, and it was this acreage. And she pointed me out on there's a land description tied to your deed, right? It describes how big, how far, and what happened when they reshifted the tax map. They gave some of her property to the church behind her. They also, inside of them redoing their tax map, they merged properties that she bought at two separate times. Thank you. Right, two separate times, right, with two different deeds, because she was the same owner, that merged them all together, right, and said, now this is the property and this is what you pay, and now this is this, right? A lot of illegal actions, right, happening.
And I guess where I was going, she has the original deed, and when the reorganization happened, she got like.
They ain't come tell her, they ain't write no letter, they ain't say, yo, you all right with it? Go ahead.
So she never had the process, that process never happened.
No, in fact, when she found this all out, she made us think about it, right?
Okay.
She's been on toting that if you had her on here talking about the deeds, she'll go into a frenzy. She had tables and tables and tables of deeds and properties and restructions and surveys and other things. But this is what she found. When she went out and found Elorm when he was in fair share, is who do you fight? Who do you go to when the powers that be are the ones corruptly taking it?
Right.
Who do you run to? And that's it. Who do you run to when it's the people you're supposed to turn to actually stealing your property? And what I've learned in this manner and just going through this process with Miss Shirley about the deeds, the same thing they tried to do the same thing to me in Monmouth County and the property that I own in my community center, right? And what I've also learned to talking to my friends in DC, that they did the same thing to them in DC. Just like Brother Muhammad will tell you, right, that they're doing the same thing to the property in New York. If you renamed it, I have this song and people find it funny when I talk about history. It's Istanbul is Constantinople. Y'all know that song, right? Mm-hmm. Istanbul was Constantinople. That's right. Because I sing that because history, places don't change, names do. And when you change a name, you change the history and the depth of the community, right? It erases it. You go in and look in, you say, oh, slavery in New York was abolished at this year. But did you ever look into New Netherlands, who was New York first, right? Right. We look into those towns that came first. What was the land? Who owned that land first? How was that land? Central Park, Central Villa,
Seneca Village, yeah.
Seneca Village, right? Mm-hmm. If you only know the history of Central Park, you never knew that there was a town there with homeowners and free people there first, right? So when they do things like this is a standard practice. This is this goes hand in hand with gentrification. Right, it goes hand in hand with the theft of this land that's been happening for hundreds of years, right here. And they're just the genius of the design of Whitesboro and the purpose of it, right, was able for it to last that 126 years that it lasts. And with people like Miss Shirley and like Elorm and like you all, right, we're able to keep that history going. Because if the moment that we forget about it, it is lost. They changed the name. Like when I read the master plan for the last 20 years of the area, they didn't mention the property at all. They never mentioned Whitesboro for the county, right, or the township, which is 72 miles. Middle Township is 72 miles governed by 3 white men. 72 miles governed by 3 white men. Right? My town is 1.3 square miles. We have 5 councilmen. We have all kinds of board members. We have 9 school board members. And we still can't get it done right most of the time. So how is 3 white men govern 72 miles?
And I live in a town 2.2 square miles with a mayor, 7 council people, a school board, a superintendent, and then some, and a whole lot of board. So Felicia, when you read, like if you go on and search Whitesboro, it'll tell you that it's an unincorporated town in Cape May. Was there a reason that it was never incorporated? And are they just telling that on purpose because they want that to be their story?
You hit it right on the nail, right? In some of our research, we had that same thing. But you have to look about when it was started, was there such thing as incorporation? There was no such thing, right? There was a standard practice that you had to go through to establish a town, which at the time was an influx of it. It was called boroughitis, where all these different boroughs popped up, right? And when incorporation came in, and this is something that and I'm going to stop talking and pass it over to Ellen or tell him to jump in, right? When we were discussing it in the boroughitis, when the boroughitis hit up in 1926, they pointed out that there was a meeting by the Odd Fellas, I said it right, which is like a fraternal order, right? Who were kind of like the stewards of the area, right? And saying that they didn't want to incorporate because Longside had just incorporated. And this meeting said, the county gave it to us right off the bat and said, hey, they didn't want to incorporate. And then my view and my question was, why did the county only got this one meeting? Where's the rest of the meeting, right? Why they got this one meeting with nobody was in attendance really? None of the founders who are alive weren't there, right? Why do they have this one meeting? What about the meeting that came before that one? What about the meeting that came after this one? At the time, what if they were just saying, truly, we good the way we are. We don't got to do this because nobody even knew what incorporated mean at the time because it just started. There was no, you were this town, you were this town. They had their own police department. They had their own fire department, right? They had their own mayor or constable, right? They had their own things. They was like, look, let's leave these white folk alone. We good, right? But when they start again, everything that started town through boroughitis and a 1876 law, they did. And there's no jump, and even more so, more definition that we came to kind of look and find, right? There was a town in Cape May, which was a very black area too, right? In Cape May, it was called Seagroves. And they ran into a lot of issues. It was a multicultural space, right? They ran into issues about being considered a town or not a town. And they didn't have a post office and everything else.
I remember,
right before Whitesboro. And the same kind of powerful people were in the mix of that. Well, when Whitesboro started, they cured all those issues that they had in Seagrove. They cured it when they established Whitesboro. They had their own train station Whitesboro had, right? They had their own federal designation from the feds with having a post office and a zip code, right? They were completely sufficient. They want to point out unincorporated town, but so is courthouse.
Right.
Who they want to take the so-called courthouse where everybody wants to be part of. Because it's, there's courthouse. It's the fancy, so-called fancy, it's the same town, right? It's an unincorporated town also, right? So, hence, again, to go back short ways, there was no such thing at the time when they established it as incorporation. And I can give it over and tell Elorm, I have to stop talking because Elorm doesn't believe in cutting in on people. So I'm going to just popcorn over to Elorm so he can continue talking. But I believe it was the 1876 ordinance of the time, how to establish a city, how to establish a borough. And then it was revamped in the 1890s and then early 1901. But correct me if I'm wrong, Elorm.
I can jump in on a couple of things to mention. There are certain actors in this with the state, the county, and local towns. And for those who know New Jersey has a lot of towns. We were notorious for, if you don't like your neighbors, you just get up and you start your own town. And initially, the county of Cape May, when it was founded and discovered and chopped up, and the indigenous folks there, their land was taken and seized. The state itself designated that whole area as a county per state law, and in that time, the whole county of Cape May was in 3 sections: upper, middle, and lower, literally, and it was by religious districts. And so, what happened when the state started incorporating towns, going back to the first act in 1798. With the Township Act, what they did back then was pretty much say all the towns and their boundaries as they were are now recognized by the state as municipal bodies. And in those municipal bodies, they were given the authority to govern those areas and be able to create local laws and whatnot. And with the tax map situation, it's interesting because on the local level, when you buy a property, you go to a title process and it designates what the land description are, what the block and lot is, and how big it is, acreage size, all of that stuff. And all of that is put on the deed with your name on it that says you are the rightful owner of this piece of property. But what happens is, once that's recorded, that document doesn't change. It's set as it is, frozen in time and period. But the county, the state, and that local municipality have the capacity to change the block and lot numbers, to break it up into different sections and say, on this block that was split up into 6 lots, now we're gonna subdivide it into 60 lots, and your property on record that is written down to say I only own this and that at this block and this lot all of a sudden on the county's tax map that the state has accepted, that property is broken down into 16 different pieces. So when you get to a point where a loved one passes away and they're ready to go to paradise, they're passing their property on. Now the person who's receiving that property goes to the county and says, okay, I own block 1, lot 5. And they're like, block 1, lot 5 doesn't exist anymore. It's on you to figure out where your property is and where your boundary lines is, and for you to get the expert that can translate your current deed into everyday reality. And the problem starts and lies with the fact that you don't have control of your own community to be able to write the laws, to write the policies, and to put in the administration that can correct errors and discrepancies. And for a really long time, that's been the battle that Whitesboro has been sitting under, because the folks that govern them, per the state, saying Middle Township has the right to all that landmass going back to 1798, the folks in Whitesboro haven't gotten that same opportunity and the same courtesy by the state to say they've always existed as their own independent community and rightfully ought to have the right to determine their own laws, policies, and procedures. And so that is the technicalities of the tax map situation. We have reached out to the state to explain to us how a municipality can just create a tax map without consulting the property owners, and then bearing them with the issue of having to figure out where their property is, what exactly on the new tax map they own, and then what the proper taxation is for their property. Because the moment you start chopping things up, you could say, okay, now this thing is one whole thing. I'm gonna tax it at 30%, and it's worth $300,000. And this thing is another different thing. And I'm gonna tax it as a commercial lot at what you call it as at 15%, and it's worth $2 million. You know, that's the kind of technical mumbo jumbo you could get to play with tax map roulette. And
that's what brings land grabbers into equation that heightens the corruption.
Because they know already. Exactly. They know already where they stole. Right? We don't know that they stole it. We have one young lady who said that she went to do her house and realized that she had to buy a piece back from her neighbor because they had taken the property that was hers, but now gave it to her neighbor's lot. And she had to buy a piece back from her neighbor. That was her front porch.
Wow.
Right? So when you
that's crazy.
Oh, that's crazy.
Right. So like I said, it's Jersey, but that's not all over. That's everywhere. Yeah. Right. We see developers from California and all across this country that they just sit here and they love New Jersey because, you know, our politics is different. Right. You can sit up here and say, hey,
from New Jersey.
Exactly. Right. So you can sit up here, and again, that goes to when Miss Shirley found this out and she first noticed these deed discrepancies. Where did she go? She called all over. She called everywhere. She tried to find. She wrote people. She wrote things. Where do you go? And even when Ellen came on, when me and Ellen came on, we talked to people in the state. Where do you go to remedy this? Right? Where do you go to say this? Right now, the eminent domain and certain land. And then we get a group of people who are just tired now.
Right.
They're tired. Yeah. They're tired and they're trying to live. Right. So who's going to jump into this fight? So in the space where part of the project, and get back to the Whitesboro Preservation Project that we are part of, is saying you're not alone. Right. These issues that you suffer from, you're not alone. So it's building that community to help prop up some of these greatest communities. I'm telling you, these are some entrepreneurial somebodies down there. These some get up and go kind of group of people. I enjoy Whitesboro. I like to tell people it's a guy down there that got his own water, right? Mr. Harrison got his own water to do. It's just good water. I'm a water snob, and he got some good water. It's alkaline, it's fresh, it's well water, it's crisp, it's clean, it's good water. right? And that's just all kinds of businesses and just different great things. And just to come in and say we support you, and we're not going to let them steal your land and our history, because that's what it is. It's our history.
Yes, it is.
Right. And it shouldn't be going to the biggest, to people who won't even remember it, or will throw up a museum like our Harriet Tubman Museum that ain't run by us. Right. It ain't necessarily our story. It's somebody else's story. And that's the same family that's running around buying up half the stuff down in that space. Right. So when we talk about it, let's talk about us putting out our own narrative. And that's the big part. Again, shutting up because I'm chatty.
So let's jump now. Let's jump ahead because I don't want us to get lost. You are having a major gala coming up, right? And it's not the first. What is this? The third year in a row, right? Something like that. Second. You have a gala coming up, right? You're awarding a lot of folks who are brave in this work. And in fact, I think you're one of the awardees, Felicia. Am I right?
I am. Which, I feel like it's getting higher.
Progress as an organization is an award. And I was really, I mean, it's because that's where we need to go. Organization is the mode of resistance that makes the difference, right? But when I saw that the organization was being awarded, I said, wow, that's really a mature statement, right? So let's talk about the gala, when it is, where it is, how folks can buy tickets and all of that.
Get on it, Mr. Minister Ocansey.
Hi, yes, let's talk about some good things. The gala started last year to celebrate the history of Whitesboro and to create a space for everybody to come together. We had it last year at Historic Congress Hall for the folks that know Cape May County. This year we're at the Cape May Convention Hall, which is a much bigger space. It could hold up to 400 people, but we're only asking for 3. So we're inviting folks from all across the state to come on down. The theme this year is to bridge Whitesboro history and New Jersey history. And you can see that in the list of awardees, Felicia being one. We also have a Miss Kay Harris from Asbury Park, who is an awardee this year for our outstanding historic preservation. We have Asada Man, Cologne from the infamous New Jersey
Institute of Social Justice. Yes, we know Asada well.
Doing great work across the state. We have one Mayor Raj J. Baraka, who has been a lead figure in our state in bringing all our disparate communities together to unify with one voice. And so we're pretty much asking everybody to come on down. Let's celebrate Whitesboro. Let's connect. Let's fellowship and make a commitment to revitalizing all our different communities.
Let's talk about some of the people who aren't necessarily melanated that they're honoring also.
Yes, we are honoring some non-melanated people. Nothing against our non-melanated brothers and sisters. Black history is not limited to just Black folks, even though we do most of the work. We have Mr. Curtis Bashaw, who folks should know from across the state, ran as a Republican candidate for state Senate against Andy Kim. He is a entrepreneur, the owner of 2 historic Cape May venues, Congress Hall #1, and the Virginia, which is another historic hotel in Cape May. He's been real gracious and currently running for Cape May County Commissioner as a Republican as well. But we're bridging ties.
Why is he an odd Republican? Why is he an odd Republican, Mr. Ocansey?
I don't know anything about odd Republicans. I know if you help me, I can work with you. So I try not to really get into people's political parties because I know some Democrats I don't want to work with. And I know some Republicans I don't want to work with either. But as long as you're going to help me, I could do business with you. And so that's what he's doing with us. And we're doing business together. And so we're honoring him for his historical preservation work and his interest in supporting the revitalization of Whitesboro. Folks can go to preservewhitesboro.org to get their tickets. We're still open for sponsors and people to put an ad in our beautiful journal.
What's the deadline for the ad? Because I got to get one in.
The deadline for the ad is April 8th. That's next Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we're still open to that, and really want people to come down. We want to make an investment, a long-term investment in the revitalization of this historic space, and to bring your story as well.
There's also one other guy that helps with the investment part in Whitesboro that we're honoring. Can you mention him?
Felicia, go ahead.
Anthony.
Yes. So one of our best partners, and Felicia is setting me up like I'm Babe Ruth, even though I never played baseball in my life.
We can tell. We can tell.
Aaron, that's like Babe Ruth.
You see, I don't even know the people. Like, I'm like, oh, I know that one guy.
You figured it out.
So that's Anthony. Go ahead.
So Anthony Brantis is the executive secretary for the Eastern Atlantic State Regional Council of Carpenters. The Carpenters Union have been one of our steady and core partners from the jump, because they've seen the vision of supporting the revitalization of Whitesboro and getting the local folks involved in building their own communities. And
wow.
We all know carpentry as a trade as old as time. Mr. Jesus Christ's daddy was
right,
and doing the work with your hands of building your own home. We are partnering with the Carpenters Union to bring the trades to the community of Whitesboro, to bring PLAs to the community of Whitesboro and Cape May County. That way folks can get union wages to do union work and build their own communities. And so we are honoring Anthony this year with our Congressman H. White Award for his commitment and his dedication to Whitesboro, and really putting a spotlight on the great work the Carpenters Union is doing as they really take on their core mission of being a civil rights organization, in the sense of when they were with the civil rights movement in the 60s, working in tandem with Black communities to really build labor power and justice and racial power.
And that's huge. Let me tell you something. This is a country that went from being having a labor force that was almost 50% union organized coming out of World War II, that's down to only 11%. And this is the biggest so-called most successful democracy in the whole world, but it's anti-union. And folks ain't figured that out yet. Right, that's huge. We just did our No Kings March last Saturday. Biggest presence was unions, right? And these were unions that looked like this conversation. They were Black, and brown, and were, a lot of women. They were people from all backgrounds, immigrant, Launa, 32 BJ. It was a powerful. We had the Painters Union, right? It's a powerful gathering of union forces trying to regroup. And this is a time, we're looking at what they're trying to take from us. We need to also look at how we can use our mobilizing and organizing as a way in time to strategically build our ranks and build our bases back, so that we can head this stuff off from ever happening again, or at least not for a long, long time. Right on, y'all. Right on. And let's wrap it up, right? What are the takeaways that y'all want folks to have from this conversation and from the upcoming gala, right? And then the great Donna K. Williams will ask you our outgoing ritual question.
Okay, well, my take is that it's not just Black history, it's our history, it's American history. And come out and keep our tickets real affordable, $75 for the greatest night that you will have. And come on out and support. Right, be part of the solution. Right, when we pick these people to be part of us, right, and we honor, we are lucky to have people that we can honor, right, that's partners to build, who wants to build us, and we can help them too. So that's our goal is celebrate our history. One fist. I
love that. Right on. Elorm, what say you, son?
I can't top that. A great man. 2,000 some years ago, last words were, Father, into thy hands I commit myself, my spirit. And so in that spirit, we're asking folks to commit their hands to this work.
Commit their. Well, I wish I had you a few hours ago when we were marching from Montclair down to Delaney Hall, right? Because those are some words that I hadn't heard, right? And there's a whole lot of hands in the city of Newark that should be, putting some hands on that whole struggle right there in town. Thank you, son. Thank you. Down to ask the ritual question.
Felicia and Pastor, this is a hip hop political show. When you are doing the work that you do, even on a Good Friday, other than the 7 last words, what is the songs that you listen to keep you encouraged?
Oh, I've been big on DMX lately. I've been big on DMX, but it's not just lately, to be honest. What was playing in my room when I was young was DMX, and my son came a little later. So I love his struggle, the Blood In, Blood Out album, right? Yeah, he just hit and his prayers, his honest struggle with God, and his real struggle with God is what I always loved about Earl. That's what and that's my daddy's middle name and my brother's. So
all right, we're calling out people on their government names. And Pastor,
I don't know if it counts as a hip hop song, but Young Hearts Run Free, R&B.
Listen, and it might have been sampled by now.
Yeah, he probably wasn't even born when it was out. That's all right. That means you know.
I've been listening to that a lot. Been doing a lot of free running stuff.
Well, thank you, and feel free to come back anytime. And don't wait for us to call you. Give us a call if you need us to know something. Okay.
I will plug one more thing before I leave. On May 29th, in the great city of Asbury Park, we're having the inaugural Greater Asbury Park Black History Soiree. Yes, we got a new project. It launched last year. We're doing it again. It worked so well in Whitesboro. We're doing it in Asbury Park, bringing the community together. And so we'll be on soon to talk about that work, because Monmouth County is a different beast. But the Klan is
we'll see you mid-May to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Right on. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Kalina, glad to see you still here. You should be here more often. We miss you.
Yeah, I'm on double duty at night, so Friday nights. But they were good. I love their energy. It was nice to hear, like a podcast, because I had to go tend to my dad, but it was good to hear about their work. They're doing some powerful stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, do we have our guest for Bob Law?
I think
you're
already guess.
No, I'm not sure if she got the link. John is just saying that he put it in a group chat. So she said she never got the link.
Yeah, she's not on a group chat, I don't think. Yeah.
Who is it? Who are we missing? What's her name?
Erica Ford.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
He said John is saying he put her in a group chat. I don't know why he did that, but
see what I could do.
Is it too late? Or I do. Can we?
Zaid is getting ready. I just texted Zaid. Gonna text her now.
Okay.
She's also with the family, Zaid. So she said that they will also probably chime in. You know what I mean?
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah.
So hit her up. Because she's at the restaurant. She's at Sister's Place.
Mm-hmm.
That's a restaurant that Bob Law and his wife own.
Oh,
yeah,
and when?
December 12th.
Yeah, Sister's Place, December 12th. Yeah. So we were hoping to get her on. She confirmed earlier, but I thought John had sent her the text. So we have to see.
Just email it to her like he usually does. That's or told me, because I'd have got it to her for sure.
Yeah. And while we're waiting, I sent everybody a little breaking news about 12 generals went against person in the White House about sending ground troops into Iran.
Yeah, but they're already there. So yeah,
Already there.
They're there. Yeah, I don't believe they're on the ground though, right?
they're in Iran. They probably didn't invade the community, but they out there.
They're out. They're definitely out there. Yeah, they're there. Yeah, they don't want to be parachuting into.
You know the thing about Trump, he's not going to tell you, the same way he dropped those bombs on those people. He's not going to tell you when he dropped the bombs. So, at any moment he wake up, he could, he already said he wants to decimate the place, right? He wants to send them back to the Stone Age.
Yeah, he wants to be a war criminal. We heard here.
Yeah. So, at the end
he's putting himself above being a war criminal. He's putting Netanyahu above being a war criminal. He's even trying to displace the very United Nations process and structure by virtue of this grand order delusion of power that they are having to dominate that part of the world.
It's interesting because they were out in Israel, and they were interviewing some of the people in Israel, and they were asking them their opinion about the war. And, of course, their opinion is a lot different than Americans' opinion, right? So the opinion of the folks in Israel is that they are glad that America went to war, because what it did was it got rid of one of their enemies for them. Did y'all hear that?
Exactly.
So Donald Trump would say that they were somehow threatening us, but the people on the ground in Israel, in their minds, know America went to war for us. Wait a minute. When did that start happening?
Yeah, and I don't know if earlier did you all discuss the $1 trillion request for military in the budget that came out today? But yet it says
directly saying, I ain't gonna give you jack for schools. I ain't gonna give you jack for child's care. We ain't gonna worry about that. We got to take care of the military
to pay for the $1 trillion and new battleships. Yeah.
And just to be specific, Ed Week reported for the second year in a row, Trump is proposing to zero out long-standing federal education programs that support educators. Professional development, currently $2.2 billion, zero that out. English learners, $890 million, zero that out. $1.4 billion for academic enrichment. $1.3 billion for before and after school programs. $220 million for rural schools, and support for students experiencing homelessness, $129 million. So the federal government no longer under Trump wants to pay for any of the things I just listed. They want to make those investments zero.
Wow. And went on to say that the state should raise taxes. No, I think the government has already done legislation to say that we should withdraw our federal taxes from DC. But you said the state should.
When I think about the amount of, I don't think people realize that the money that comes out of our paychecks,
that's right,
the money that we pay as entrepreneurs in federal taxes is the money that is used to fund these programs, and is also a part of that trillion that is going to be used for a war that is of no benefit to us.
That's right.
We want to cut these programs. And then I'm thinking about it like, well, I pay a lot of money in taxes every year to the federal government. What am I getting?
Right.
None of this. What am I getting? And so I don't know. I see too many people in Congress vacationing and taking pretty pictures and eating food. I don't understand why they have not band together and launched some type of a national something where they are all standing together and calling on something, but they're just like playing checkers, and the Trump administration is playing, and the Republicans are playing chess.
Yes. But here's the thing. It would seem like, when you talk about Congress, it would seem like they have no power whatsoever to stop the president. I mean, one, they can't stop him from going to war. Two, they can't stop him from spending trillions of dollars on a war that he was not approved to go and fight. And then at the end of the day, it seems like, he can just decide to change all of the laws as it relates to voting. And now he wants to I mean, remember, he put before the court this week birthright citizenship.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is some serious stuff going on.
Yeah.
It's serious. I just want to see, as a first step, and maybe it's happened, forgive me if it has, but I just want to see 10 to 20 powerful Democratic members of Congress stand together someplace and have a press conference, some type of media thing. Cory Booker done stood someplace and talked for 20 hours. That was okay, but that was one person. I want to see all of them come together and release some type of a plan or strategy. Release your own project 2029. Do something.
Right.
But it's like they're just, and I know they're fighting. People are fighting at the state level. They're challenging things. A lot of things that were proposed have been stopped, and we're grateful for their work. But I just want to see them come together and
one would say, and it's unfortunate the way it had to happen, how they were able to stop, funding DHS. And although at the last minute it was thwarted, the Senate did come back and did fund it in the way that the Democrats did want it funded, without, paying everybody else and not paying DHS. But the crazy part was, when I was doing budget 101 in terms of local law, you could not commit the next session of Congress's money, and he've already funded DHS to the tune of like 2 or 3 years, and that's crazy. There's a reason every year there's a budget and everything, but how much money he front loaded that DHS was crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, it's weak because it's America. They don't separate us, just terrorize. I mean, I was crying last night watching on my phone footage from either Iran or Gaza, just feeling so helpless. These are human beings. These are elderly. And the footage that it's just so depressing. And it bothers me.
That's the way they want to make you. They want you to feel helpless.
Yeah, that's how it feels. Helpless, powerless is what it feels like. For
Saturday was the largest protest day in the history of this country.
The No Kings.
Believe that.
But can you imagine how, I read they're living in apartments, and they are literally hitting apartments when they hit their school. Like you're sitting in a building and a bomb.
Can you imagine? I was watching last night. I think it's like a mother was burying her 4 daughters that just were at home and just boom, just bombed.
Imagine this. Imagine some elite soldiers from places unknown sneaking into Washington and snatching up Trump's behind. Right?
It would never happen. It would never.
No. But if it did, it would be wrong by American standards. But you do not hear, folks. The American media is terrible in this.
American media is absolutely
no condemnation, no critical examination. How is it all right to just go into another country and just kill their leaders?
Kill their leaders and terrorize their people.
All right.
And
we want regime change in your country. Okay, we want regime change in this country. Good for over here, good for over there.
There's Erica. There she goes.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
No doubt. Bob Laws, that's the triple quadruple OG, the original peacekeeper. And
we're starting off by joining you and sending our condolences, and we thank you for being here to let us know what we have lost in this great man.
Yes. Bob Law was not only a historian, but I remember my first work with Bob Law was around the music, and he launched a campaign. I don't know if it was the 80s or the 90s. Around.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes. And I worked with him, and we went up to the radio stations and the record companies, and had rallies and communications around, but he was consistent. You know, he was very consistent in standing up for our people, standing up for our culture. He helped launch the Peacekeepers with Captain Dennis here in New York City and around the country.
Right.
I mean, I'm in here in Sister's Place, and I'm gonna have Omawali come on next. But the legends of legacy of work that he did with the December 12th movement, Viola Plummer, Black liberation, Black nationalism,
Right.
Black health with Queen Afua and his wife. You know, I mean, there's too many things that he's done. He wasn't put in any box, and he was that voice, right? He was that voice that we all waited for on the radio or anything. And he talked for hours. For hours. You know, you give Bob Lord and Michael, you coming behind Bob Lord, you're gonna be in that room for a long time.
Right.
You know, and so he will be missed, and he has impacted us tremendously. He's impacted me especially.
And Erica, do you remember this? Respect yourself.
Respect yourself. That's right.
Right.
That's
I mean,
right.
that was the one thing when I first met Bob, you know, was almost 30 years ago. And I can remember, you know, you didn't say peace to the brother. He was like, respect yourself.
That's
and
right.
It almost felt offensive. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then you started to understand what he was doing to you. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, yes.
It was just so deep because I remember, you know, when he invited me to Queens to come up to the radio station. I represented back in the day that y'all probably gonna know who I'm talking about. He's JD Smooth, right?
Oh yeah.
He
Well,
first got started
I go
meeting,
back before that.
right?
Yeah.
And I remember taking him to meet Bob Law, you know, and you know, he was in this funny mood, and Bob was like, respect yourself. And he was like, what? You know what I mean? And I told him, I said, yo, man, I said, that's Bob's greeting for Black people, brother, for us to respect ourselves. And he had to catch on to that, you know. And but Bob, as you say, I mean, this brother was consistent, you know. And yeah, could he talk? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But, you know,
but he had a lot to talk about.
He did, absolutely.
Because it wasn't like he had a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, he had a lot to talk about in his organizing and I called Omawali. His organizing and we losing a lot of legends, a lot of legacy folks. You know, here's another one of those old folks that no, we stop. I'm going to get up.
You better stop.
But,
hey, Erica.
Hey, yes,
Erica, you become like old folk yourself.
Are you damn right? You damn right. I'm gonna be 61 next year. Remember, we used to be the youth group. We used to be the youth coordinators under Bob Law and Omar Mali and all of these people. Now we I don't know what we are. The elders. Talking about Bob Law. Here's Omar Wali. They're on the radio live talking about
great Omar Wali.
Hey man, how you doing?
You're on camera.
Good, brother.
Oh, this camera.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hey man, what's up?
Man, we've been treating you well. You know, y'all do everything on Friday night. That's why I ain't never been able to get you on this platform.
Yeah. Yeah, we getting ready to go to Zimbabwe in a little while. So
straight ahead.
So that's where we're meeting and stuff. Bob, boy, you know, Brother Dalio, I have to send you this picture. It's a picture of Bob Law, Akbar, and Viola. And I think it was at Mosque number 7. And it's an incredible picture, you know, just in terms of their impact and our movement. You know, it was an incredible picture. I think it's going to be in the final call. You know, the final calls are come, you know, when they deal with stuff with Akbar. But I told Dalil, I'm going to blow it up and frame it here in Sister's Place, you know, in terms of that, because of the significance and stuff. But Bob, you know, Jesus, I go back with Bob so long because Bob was Viola's friend. That's always how she captioned Bob Law. That's my friend, you know. And they were close friends for decades, and as my relationship with Viola developed, so it did it with Bob Law. So from the Respect Yourself campaigns to, and I just want folks to mention, remember too, that Bob worked on a film that was done on Blacks in radio. And it's kind of like the history of Blacks in radio, because Bob was there with Frankie Crocker, Al G,
That's right.
all of those folks back
Golden
there.
Age of Black Radio. That's right. He was a part of
Yeah,
it.
part of Black radio. So he did a film on it. So we got to make sure we get a hold of that and make people aware of how they can see it. It's an important film, Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, I mean, I was 8. I know it was Jocko and his rocket ship show.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm making you old, right?
yeah.
And stuff. Yeah, but Bob was very, very much involved. He was very much involved in that history, but also just the organizing thing. Of course, I'm sure we all discussed his relationship to the Million Man March and his relationship with Minister Farrakhan and Nation of Islam in terms
But,
of.
and we would be remiss if we didn't talk about his relationship with Imhotep Gary Bird.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's right.
those
That's
two
right.
were like brothers.
Gary was the young one out of all of them.
It's funny. Dory used to work with Bob.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Dory worked with Bob. My wife worked with Bob Law in terms of that. But Bob was in the community, you know what I mean? And from the ground, and
Yeah.
stuff. So a real loss, when Vi was in the hospital and I called him to just let him know if he wanted to visit her. And he says no, he didn't want to visit her. He just didn't want to see her.
Shit like that.
He didn't want to see her like that, stuff. So this is what generations go through, the transition, the transition. And it's something we have to pay attention to because the next generation coming up needs to understand whose shoulders they're standing on. And not only that, lessons learned. I mean, that's, I think that's the most important thing. Some of the young people we're dealing with now, I think one of the things that they feel very comfortable about is, what do they call it? Intergenerational. They said because they feel more comfortable with elders, particularly who are open to learn, as they have to be open to learn. And I think that's how you pass it down, how you carry the poem, carry on the tradition.
That's right. That's right.
Carry on the tradition,
Right.
and that's the real deal. But Bob was a soldier in our movement and stuff. Bob's thing was, he wouldn't say boycott, he would say economic sanctions. We have to put some economic sanctions on them and stuff, but it was always made communications and stuff, and it was always Bob's voice. Bob had that radio voice, He had that radio voice in terms of that, and was respected so far and wide in terms of that and stuff. So.
And I don't think that there was anybody that Bob couldn't call, that didn't come on that radio show, right? And I'll tell you that for me, when I first became aware of the Lumumbas, it was through Bob Law, because Bob would always have Chokwe on that show, right? Whatever was going on in Mississippi, right? We knew about it because Bob would always have Chokwe on that show, right? And Bob was in touch with everybody around the country. And I tell you this, Brother Omawali, I'd never asked, when we started this show 16 years ago, I remember talking to Bob, and Bob would always say, anything you ever need, don't hesitate to call. And I would call him and just talk about stuff. And he would always just say, man, just stay true to the platform, right? Stay true to our people. And I can tell you that, even up until, the point when he had his stroke, he was still willing to come on the show, right? It would conflict with him going to dialysis, but he would always say, hey, man, let's figure out a way to fit me in,
Yeah. Well, it becomes part of you. It becomes part of you,
Yeah.
Bob was a communicator.
Yep.
He was a communicator. He was very aware that he had a projection and a voice and a presentation that was captivating, and so he was aware of that, and he used it to the fullest in that regard to make sure that things that needed to get out into the community and need to be communicated, if he could be a vehicle for it, he was always on the line to make sure that that happened, and what did Adam Clayton Powell say? He said, use what's in your hands, before you complain about what you don't have. Are you utilizing what you do have?
Bob would always say that too. He would always say, use what's in your hand.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got a book because we're in this meeting
Before you
around.
go there, tell everybody about tomorrow.
Oh yeah, tomorrow we're. It's so interesting. I did a thing with Charles on his show today. Adam Clayton Powell and Martin Luther King both died on April 4th.
68, 72. That's right.
The irony with Martin Luther King was that his most powerful speech, I think the most powerful, I don't know if the most powerful, one of his most significant speeches, and one that I think led him on the path to being a mortal enemy of the American government, was his speech at Riverside Church, where he spoke about anti-war and about the United States as a country of war bunkers. And I think the significance of it was, sometimes it's not, you try to figure out, what changed? Well, what changed was Martin Luther King brought his voice, which had mass resonation to the anti-war movement. And that was dangerous. That was very dangerous in terms of that. And it made Martin even more dangerous. But we always like to say, but it was April 4th, 1967, and he was killed April 4th, 1968.
That's right.
In Memphis, Tennessee. And I think the second part of what I think solidified him being a real enemy was that when he went to Memphis, it wasn't just he was going to support Black people. He was going to support Black workers. And Martin had now started to focus, what is the most powerful sector in our community? And it's Black workers, Black workers. And so that made him double dangerous in that regard. And so, I was on Charles's show. I'll send this to you, Zay. Charles played a little piece that Martin had done. When you hear it, you know the Baptist minister. If the Baptist minister reminds you of what, Dizzy Gillespie said once, rhythm, that name is Africa. And which is why when we're in a Black church, there's a tone and a rhythm that goes right down your spine. It's the rhythm and spirituality. I don't must come from metaphysics, but it's a spirituality that comes from, it's our culture, And so when Martin would talk, he connected. I used to always try to figure out, what did white people get out of church? Because none of their ministers would ever convince me that they could ever be the pastor to ever go anywhere. I could never get in that. Which is why you start seeing white people going to Black churches, because there was nothing really agitational about thinking that this was a vehicle for you to get to the other side and stuff. But
well, before you leave us, I don't know what time was Dr. King in that pulpit preaching his mountaintop speech.
Almost midnight.
It was about midnight, but I know when you watch the live footage of it, I know for me it's always hard for him when he gets to the part when he says, like anybody, longevity has its place. It's almost like you're looking in his eyes and he has to breathe a second before he says that part, because it's almost like he's realizing what he's saying, and he probably did. So I know.
Yeah.
What was that?
The most amplified voice in the Black prophetic tradition.
Yes.
Almost definitely, but I'm talking about specifically that part of the speech. I know every time.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, you identified a critical point. When he says, for me, it was a part of the speech when he says, I fear no man.
Right.
When he said that, I said, he's free.
Totally.
I mean, he's free because what he was saying was, I'm not afraid. You know, I'm not afraid.
You can't
You know,
sell me.
it was
You can't sell me. No, this is it. I'm here.
right. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna send this piece that Charles played today. When I heard it, I said, "Wait till you hear it, man. I'm gonna play it tomorrow." Tomorrow, you know, I think tomorrow around, you know, commemoration of King. It's really part of December 12th coming from that we have to be in our community. We have to agitate in our community, not as an event. We might have events, but those events have to be just part of what we're doing in that regard. And to stay in the streets, we're losing our churches because ethnic cleansing is destroying our populations, and with no population, the churches don't have a ministry. And so now you're seeing Black churches being sold. You're seeing us being pushed out of our housing over here, you know, the big thing around deed theft, you know, the whole thing with public housing and stuff. So these crises require the conscious of us to take what's in our hands and get out there with our people. One of the emphasis we did this year with this was around the churches. You know, we feel the churches have not pushed our people out in the streets. And it's a challenge around what kind of ministers do we have in the church now. And believe me,
you know what Dr. King's comrade Fred Shuttleworth said. He said, God has got no use for scared Black preachers.
Yeah, but I'll say this. I don't want to make it like I'm making some sweeping statement because I don't know. But I know for this particular motion tomorrow, we've particularly put some emphasis on reaching out to some of our preachers to bring their people out in the streets of their community, you know, to bring them out in the streets of our community, because I'm telling you, you know, the streets belong to who they're going to belong to. And don't complain about no 15 or 16-year-old kid out in the street and you scared to come out in the street. Then you know you need to be out in the street if you're scared to come out or you're scared of your children in that regard. So, you know, tomorrow we're going to assemble at 1 o'clock at G2AUC Square, which is on Grand Street and Fulton, Harriet Tubman. And we're going to march down Harriet Tubman to Malcolm X Plaza, which is down at Utica Street, down that way. And so it's really just to be in the streets, to be with our folks, to agitate, and, you know, not make it an event, but make it an ongoing occurrence. That if when they say, you know, our statement, when they say where you gonna be, in the streets, whose streets? Our streets, you know.
Right.
All right, brother.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Gotta slip. In terms of that, straight ahead, y'all. See, as I say, see you in the whirlwind.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
Peace, brother.
All right.
In the streets of New York, those are my favorite comrades.
Yeah.
We've been in some battles together in them streets.
Yeah.
Look at that line upon line, precept upon precept, the deed, and then see you in the whirlwind. How about that?
but you know, but what Erica said is true. You know, we're losing, y'all, all of our elders, right? Losing them, and I think that that's something we got to understand, that we're losing our elders, and we've got to find a way, I think, to be able to connect with them to get that information.
That's right.
Before it's too late,
Because look at Sonny, not to cut your wisdom, but look at Sonny Carson and Viola and all of the folk, like Mary Baraka. These young people don't know who those folks are.
Yep.
You know? And so we need to tell our story.
Yeah. We
tell our story.
And even to that point, what you're saying, Erica, I missed the point because I remember before Amiri got sick, he would always say, Ed, come to the house, let's start recording. And I was blowing that opportunity because when Raz told me that, you know, he said Dad was in the hospital, I was like, oh man, I gotta go by. He's like, man, you know, he might not make it home. And I was like, you know, even that, you know, blew me away. Oh, that's our brother right there.
There's another one.
Peace, brother.
Hey, what's happening?
Yeah.
What's up?
Well, listen, man. We were trying to focus on Bob to make sure we said something about, you know, his contribution.
That's right.
People, man, and not let this night end without at least celebrating, you know, not only his genius in terms of his communication skills, but his contribution to Black people.
Yes, and a strong contribution that was.
Right, and we know that he did that to the moment he went home to be with the Lord. Because I don't know if you heard this, Erica. I know that, you know, for me, I even spoke to him, you know, when he was, you know, going to a dialysis appointment. He was still trying to get me the schedule to get him on the air. He's like, listen, bro, let's figure out a way for it to happen. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's him.
But that was his commitment, you know? Yes. And so even when we talk about that and we say that, it is important that we talk to these brothers and sisters, because you got to think about it. Jesse is gone. We don't have no more. Right, and we just lost Akbar Muhammad. You know, Akbar was one of the most precious.
Oh, right.
We just lost. So you know, and now we lost Bob. And remember,
the scene between the countries, between Africa and all of the other countries. Akbar Muhammad, such a smooth brother as well, but really principled.
And that's what we learn. I know that. For me, you know, I mean, I used to always enjoy sitting with Akbar, you know, because he spoke with such clarity, you know, and you know, he understood that, and there was no white person that I ever seen Akbar in front of that could challenge him.
Yes, very intelligent brothers.
Yes.
And that's a difference in today as well, right? The knowledge, the vast knowledge. Of the world, like a lot of young people, like although they have access to it, I mean, you know, we gotta continue the legacy. They're trying to interrupt our culture and our understanding of who we are and whose we are, and that's what we have to, you know, stand firm in. And so I'm glad y'all are doing this. Salute to Bob Law, salute to Akbar, and all of those greats that we come and stand on their shoulders. You know, I love y'all.
Yeah, we love you, Erica. I'll be out there tomorrow, Erica.
All right, straight ahead.
Thank you, Erica.
All right, and they having something for the 7-month-old baby that was shot tomorrow as well.
Oh my God, Erica.
Yeah.
That. Oh my God, the whole thing of just imagine that father picking that baby up and running to the hospital. Oh my gosh.
Yo, Erica, we need a strong message in the street to them. I don't want to call them what they are.
But you know what? Yesterday, I spent the day in Rikers Island. And I spent the day with some young kids who was those same young kids who created havoc, right? And when you listen to their pain, when you listen to them in their relationship to their fathers, and just their pain and their trauma, and not having the tools to deal with it, right? It's like we invest in a RICO Act, not we. The system invests in a RICO Act and don't invest in a 12 and 13-year-old in terms of helping them heal, in terms of helping them have it, because it's business. There's communities upstate whose sole purpose is prison.
That's right.
They live off of the economy of prison, and they need prisoners to do that. And our children are the prisoners who they want to be the economy for upstate. And that's one thing, you know, Bob Law would definitely want us to.
That prison pipeline is old and true.
That's right.
He would say to not be stupid about it. Bob would take the word.
That's right. It's a cultural war. Yes. So take care, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
And Erica, the film that he did on Black Radio, when y'all do find it, please let us know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'll follow up with him. All right. Peace.
Peace. Yep. Well, listen, y'all, we've come to the end of the show. I'm glad we had an opportunity to get Erica on to at least say, to everybody, that we respect Bob, we honor Bob, and we love Bob, and that's a brother that's never going to be forgotten because I stand clearly on his shoes. In terms of being able to create All Politics Are Local, I had a model, with Night Talk and being able to look at that along with Imhotep, Gary Bird. And I think that, with everything that everybody else try to do, like Bob used to always say, stay true to the platform, right? And as you say all the time, Zaid, it's a drum, right? And we need to make sure that the drum is always able to give out the kind of proper information that we need. That's why I appreciated what Rock was saying tonight about the Baraka administration, right?
Yes.
That, he could come and say, hey, man, I was in those rooms. Let me tell you what it was. And if there was really anything that they had on Mayor Baraka and Midi Baraka, they would have been arrested already.
That's right.
I'm sure.
That's important to say because there's no black person I've ever seen in elected office if they committed a crime that somehow the white folks that are in power legally are going to be kind and just wait at some point to arrest them when they feel like. No, they make that stuff happen immediately.
Spectacle fashion.
Yeah. So we just want to thank everybody who, of course, was on tonight. We want to definitely thank all of the candidates who came on who are running for office for the Board of Education. Kalina, if you know all of their names, you can name them so we can thank them personally.
Hasani Council was here today. Javi, I don't know his name. He was here today.
Mark
Conius and Quamid Childs. And I think Javari Navarro. I'm so sorry for the fourth name. Please forgive me. But he was also here with us today. They're a ticket. They're running together, moving Newark schools forward. Ticket. And in general, the election is April 21st, and 16 and 17-year-olds can vote if they have registered.
And if you haven't registered, get registered, please.
Register, yes.
Because there'll be a November election with a lot of school boards.
That's right. So if they can't vote, if they had 16 or 17-year-olds, that's a good point, Donna. If you have a 16 or 17-year-old in your home, they might not make this school board election, but there's next year. So let's make sure we're getting kids registered 365 days a year and not just 2 months before the school board election. So thank you, Donna, for saying that.
Yeah. And November, there's a lot of elections, the school board elections in November. There's April and November for school boards. So please. And as we said earlier, I just wanted to remind everybody that tonight was the night that Dr. King gave the mountaintop speech. But tomorrow is the day that he tragically lost his life. And Zaid, I'm sure you'll say more about that. And to all the families, we know this is a holy week, so wishing everybody a blessed time with their families.
Yeah, it was trying to give me the nod to lift up Elorm, Ocansey, and Felicia Simmons from the Whitesboro Preservation Project. To the point that Donna just made, and I remind young folks, and I remind folks older than me too. From I'm on the back end of the baby boomers, and we're the last generation of people to have actual living memories of Dr. King when he was still alive. So that places upon us an important responsibility to impart to our young just why that is important and just why he was so important and why it's important to lift up his legacy. Demo and I were marching today with an interfaith delegation that marched to Delaney Hall from Montclair for Good Friday, right? And I'm going to be in New York with December 12th movement tomorrow. Demo's going to Memphis to the museum that was the Lorraine Motel where he stayed and where he was ultimately assassinated, right? We take that very seriously. We take that legacy very seriously. By the way, this also April 3rd, 1964, Malcolm X drops his first iteration of Ballad of the Bullet.
Right.
he was it, he would be pushing the question of the United Front like he always had when he was on his walk and spent one of his last days in Selma, Alabama, supporting Martin Luther King when he was in prison as a guest of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. So the United Front is the order of the day. Absolutely.
Well, with that, we definitely want to thank everybody for tuning in. And of course, we thank Rahaman for coming through and doing, Pastrami Over Politics. We appreciate that. And we want to thank, of course, all of the, the guest hosts for y'all, coming through. Appreciate that. Until next week, what you say, Zaid? We catch him where?
Before he says it, it was Jordy Nivar. Jordy Nivar.
That's the one that didn't get an opportunity to, so we may have to find some time to get that brother at least 15 minutes to come back and say, his platform.
Tech difficulties.
Yeah, he was having some technical difficulty, but we owe him 15 minutes. So if you happen to talk to him, Kalina, tell him that we'll definitely find some time to get him back on before the election. All right, Zaid, we'll catch him where?
In the whirlwind.
Catch y'all in the whirlwind.
We heard that twice tonight.